for the October 21st, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. Can we get a roll call?
Mr. Westbrooks?
Here.
Mr. Roberts?
Here.
Mr. Cox?
Here.
Mr. Wallenhurst?
Here.
Ms. Muskie? Here.
First is approval of the September 16th, 2024 minutes. Anybody have any comments or corrections?
I move that we approve as submitted.
Second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, before we get to the regular agenda items, there's a couple of things that Nina wanted to go over.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I just sit in the front so you don't have to turn around.
Can we get your name for the record, sir?
You don't mind. 73 years old from Italy. You don't speak English?
Roll out now.
Denied.
So at the last council meeting, the PUD was not approved. And the reason why it was not approved is because they wanted sidewalks. So there was a discussion back and forth, and after quite a while, we came to an agreement that everybody sees the report. And the agreement was to add additional sidewalk, and it would be in the line, outline through there.
This is the one, this is the Copeland's down there, Kingsbury,
So, and I spoke to the law director about this, and since he's doing more than what was originally approved, he just asked if this could just be placed on the record and, don't have to have another official meeting, but it's up to this board to decide if that's what they want to do, or they want to actually have another.
This is one extra sidewalk, is that?
That's an exercise.
That would be all right with the
Yes.
council?
Yes, I believe it's.
I was absent when he came in front, so this is all you guys.
I wouldn't have any problem with additional.
No.
Were you not here?
Yeah.
Okay, both of you.
I was here for a couple.
Well, we can ignore that.
We didn't hear the last time.
Yeah.
So additional sidewalk, wonderful.
So does he think we need to make a motion to reapprove that?
No,
Or
it just puts it on the record that, it was brought to your attention and that you were okay with this and, it's
Okay, so we got any issues? I think we're okay with that then.
The next item is, it's a gate that it was approved, I don't know how long ago I wasn't here, it's not a gate, it's a street that, on Isabel Road, and this is supposed to be just for emergency vehicles going on, and I just made a photo, I'm sorry.
What is this for?
This is the cut through in Isabel Road. That cut through was supposed to be just for emergency vehicles, unfortunately the way it was.
Same project?
No.
This is the Spruce Hill project.
Oh, okay.
So what happens is now, cars are going through possibly, emergency vehicles because they're wide enough they can make it through there. So the mayor and the council have received a lot of complaints about it. I tried to figure out who's responsible for that. Originally, I thought it was the association. The association says we own it, but we can't do anything because the project is not completed yet. It's still under Copeland, so Copeland has all the power, what to do on that. So I asked for the temporarily to do what you see there, the two bollards on one side. They have placed, there's the device in the middle there so that cars cannot get through. But even those two devices are not working properly now because they've been run over so many times that, the pin has come off. There's been quite a few vehicles around there. The fire department also has an issue with those stones, so I guess the next step is to figure out, number one, who's responsible, and number two, do you guys want to see what the next step is going to be? With most most likely it's gonna be 2 posts on each side with a chain across and a sign, emergency vehicles only on both sides. And it's something that I have to run it by the fire department, see if they're okay with that. They would make multiple keys that would be shared by the fire, the police department, the service department possibly. And just trying to find a solution to
So,
the problem.
I guess my initial thought is the chain really gonna stop somebody from like just cutting through, they're gonna get caught, and they're gonna just get kind of discarded after a while. Okay. And I guess the original, I think your original question was who's responsible. I would say that it's probably still Mr. Coleman, since he's the one that has ownership of the development right now.
Yes.
If it wasn't, then I would say it's HOA, but it sounds like it still falls under his jurisdiction or his responsibility.
The city doesn't want anything to back it up, they don't want to pay, they don't want to get involved with it. So it's, and I talked to Mr. Copeland today before this meeting, and I explained to him that I was going to talk to the board about it. And I asked him if he would be willing to do the post with the chain and the sign there. And he said, yeah, but he's not doing anything more than that. It's a 4x4 post on each side, chain link. Then I also, read this by the law department, and he said that even if you guys agree to that, if they agree to that, they would have to go through the approval process. They have to submit again to this board for an application, and then you guys would review it and approve it at that time. And I just want to know before we go through all this, if you guys would even consider that, or it's something that should be scrapped, or should be something else.
Does Copeland say it's all right to put the chain up on the post?
Yes, he said he would do that.
And then we still have to approve it and say it's a good idea or not.
Yes.
Well, I think that might be the way to do it. He doesn't care.
I just wonder if the chain's gonna be enough though. I mean, I wonder if it must be something that if you're gonna have to give keys to the fire department, I don't wanna speak on your behalf, but like, at that point, should we have something that's a little bit more?
Substantial.
Yeah, but without hindering you guys to cause an issue if you do have to pay there.
Yeah, that's the trick,
Well,
but they gotta
I know,
get through quick.
It's,
Well, the thing is,
it's,
that gets through quick, but then again, it also has to be taken care of throughout the winter.
right,
So who's responsible for taking care of it throughout the winter?
cause snow's just gonna probably get
Right.
pushed
And
there.
the other thing is, with just the chain across the roadway, is that gonna be sufficient enough for people to see?
That's what my
Those
concern
are,
is.
those who are cutting through, would that chain stop them?
That's kind of my initial thought. I mean, if that bollard right in the middle of the road hasn't stopped them thus far, what's the chain?
No.
I mean, chain's gonna be less substantial than that. It's all it's gonna take. is
And that bollard's got some significant damage already.
Well, what would be the alternative, a big fence or a gate or something?
A swinging gate, go past the high school. I know they just put a decent sized one up, the parking lot across the street from the high school. I mean, it's bright yellow, but, I mean, it's substantial enough, and you can see it. I
guess a couple questions. It's a problem for the development, right? I mean, the city, do we care really if cars are coming and going through that?
Because all those residents, they're all economics, because they get through traffic, and they're calling mayor, they're calling council, and they're constantly complaining. Again, I talked to Mr. Copeland today, and he said, I went to planning commission, I spent $10,000 to do this, he said, I'm willing to do some posts, but I'm not doing anything more than that, so.
Well,
That's crazy.
that's his responsibility, whether he likes it or not. This commission,
Just to make a mess.
yeah, I mean, this commission approved it on the premise that it was required. The genesis of all of this was that it was required by the fire department, correct? And so it was a secondary means of access, and we said, well, it can be emergency vehicles only. He got his approval conditioned on that. It was predicated on that very reasoning. So if it's not working and it's his property and it's not turned over to the HOA, it's his responsibility. So just
What's
because
wrong
he,
with the chain then? Wouldn't the chain do it?
No, the chain's not
A
good.
big sign?
apparently it's not going to work. Most
They're already running over
Who
that
said it's
bollard.
not gonna work?
They're already running over a bollard. That's there.
Well,
Copeland
if
thinks
you put a
it'll-
chain and you put a large sign in front, you know, it says originally.
Is there a chain there?
Reflective, yeah.
Reflective.
Well, a chain you can't get,
Why would they?
unless you drive around it, they could drive around
Yeah,
it.
but I guess, right now, there's not even any signs, so I think that, that needs to be, you know, part of this thing, is to tell people that they can't cut through. You know, but I guess what I'm saying, it's not the city's concern, we're concerned that the people are happy, but it's, you know, if that was open to traffic, if this was allowed, that would be fine
I
from
mean,
the
you know
city's
what it is.
standpoint.
I know some people complain.
Yeah, they don't want their public road, or their private road that they paid for, you know, being a cut through, but,
That's a private.
yeah, it's a private road on this side, in the new section. One, that's my neighborhood down the street, that's the
Is it
older.
these?
No.
This is where the complaints are coming?
No, the complaints are coming from the people back here in the development, not, I don't think the people on the street are complaining. But, yeah, it's not, you know, he's gonna have to keep trying something to make his people happy. So, to put his foot down and say, I'm not doing anything else, well, then your residents are gonna be really continually
But it's
ticked
not
off.
his residence, it's a resident, it's a valid.
Yeah.
Resident, you know.
Then, you know, when it gets turned over to the HOA, it's gonna be their own people that are gonna have. Basically, I think, you know, you propose that if you'd like to, and probably be okay with it unless somebody can come with some better idea.
If it doesn't work, then it's gonna try it.
Yeah.
Removable dollars, I don't know if you have a series of them or something like that.
I was thinking to it.
I don't know, in an emergency, when fire's trying to get through, they gotta take like 3 or 4 of those out, that might not be.
Yeah, to your point, and I think that's how they arrived at the original plan, was to get through quickly.
Do the line.
One pull pin on one bollard and you can go through, but turns out it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Now, the pin is gone. So
And the pin's already gone, yeah.
They cut the back of a broomstick about this long, they somehow make some threads, and that's what's holding.
That's all that's holding it up, yeah.
And the,
So
those
it's not
dollars are about
sufficient.
$2,100 a piece, so
No,
he's not willing to spend more than $9.99 on some change.
Installation, it costs $4,000 each.
So every time it gets run over, it's $4,000, and that's not good.
From the fire department standpoint, is this a second, this would only get used if you can't get in the front door of the development, or do you know, or is it?
It's a secondary access. It would not be our main access into there. But if it's needed,
Yeah,
I mean, because one, the whole development's next to high tension wires.
yeah.
And the problem with high tension wires, you still have to get back to the back part of the development. So,
It's also a way
It's
out
kind of
in an
split.
emergency
Yeah.
too. If the
Yeah.
main entrance is blocked for some reason.
You wouldn't have approved it, I don't think, without it, so he's
Right.
on the hook to do something that makes sense.
Yeah.
Copeland's still building there?
He's got 4 more houses.
Is there anything the city can do to make sure that when that's turned over to the HOA, that the HOA very much understands it's clear that it's their responsibility then, so whatever's there, chains cut, whatever, it's gonna be their responsibility to continue to fix and repair and all that?
Here's the HOA position at this point. We went to the planning commission. We got approval. We're not doing anything.
Well, but to Mr. Francis' argument, yeah, you got approval, and there's supposed to be something to prevent that. If that's not working, it's still their responsibility. That's the way, I mean, that's maybe my opinion.
It's
I don't know if that's
it's the
opinion of
people,
commission,
it's the people, yeah, I mean, they need to understand that the city's not gonna do anything, it's definitely not the city's responsibility. And when people call, you've gotta talk to your HOA, and if the HOA won't do anything,
I think,
They don't care if traffic goes through.
I think at this point, though, what Nino's getting at is that it's gonna become a problem for him and for the city, 'cause they're gonna continue to get calls about it, they're gonna continue to get complaints about it. And so, well, it's not their responsibility, they're going to be the ones that are still gonna be getting calls, he's gonna have to cite them potentially for non-compliance.
Many of them should be sending me and a lot of regular emails, do something about it, do something about it. This is the best that I could come up to get everybody together to at least release temporarily. I would try to do something that's more, you know, on a permanent base, but it's all the kind of trying to fit that gear, because if you're not approving, you know, the chain link posts, then honestly, I don't know what to do.
And where I was going with it is, I think I'm okay, that sounds like something to try, but 10, 15 years from now, when those 4x4 posts rot or fall over or whatever, who's then?
I only have 4 more years. to
I
go.
know.
He's
Right, I understand.
So,
Oh, that would be the
Hopefully the
HOA.
city's still around. And that's my point, is that I live in an HOA and I've been to some of these meetings, and there's things, maybe we don't like it, but it is our responsibility, it's very black and white, and we have to pay for it. It just is what it is.
If you get, you know, the right 4x4s, they're rated for ground installation, I think they're gonna last a while.
I got it, but I've had one in my yard for different things, and 5 years now it's bending, right?
I'm sure that before that, somebody's gonna run it over anyway.
And that's what I'm saying, is when those start to bend, or if they start to bend, now the chain's on the ground, and they drive right over.
They could have ruined anything, I mean, you could have anything, you know, they're not gonna run it over.
I feel like that while it's the responsibility of the developer and not the HOA, because it sounds like the HOA is just gonna wash their hands of it, and it's gonna continue to become a city problem.
And the city has to refer the complaints back to their own HOA.
It's not a city problem if the HOA doesn't care. We have one where I live in, but all cars go through there all the time. And the HOA's people might not care if cars go through there. They could care less. So I wouldn't worry about what the HOA might or might not do
Right.
off in the future. We're trying to figure out something now till the construction
Totally
starts.
understand, but the complainants are the people, or the residents, and they're part of the HOA, so
No.
it becomes their own internal problem, doesn't it?
Then on Isabel, they said we had a,
Well,
you
that's
know,
not part of the HOA.
no,
Okay.
the residents.
Oh, the people on Isabel are complaining?
Yes.
public, and
They-
that's the
it's
traffic
that
coming from the
direction, too.
public roads to the private roads.
But that's why I'm thinking it
Oh, I
almost
thought
needs to
it
be
was
something
Changes
that's,
things.
Could be
Both
more.
directions.
it should be something that's just more permanent, that's gonna be acceptable
It's not
to the
built
fire
big enough.
department, but it's not gonna become the city
Traffic
problem
capacity.
from the complaints, you know.
Yeah.
I'd go with the chain. That's what I would go with.
I mean, there's probably things that would be better, but we're talking significant, you know, a gate with.
They can run over the gate too.
They can.
They can.
There have been damage done to the vehicle.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So,
We don't vote on this now, do we?
no, you don't have to vote, you just gotta give me an idea whether it's even worth to bring it back to this body or not.
Well, we're arguing amongst ourselves. I'm for Copeland's, he agreed to do it, I would do that for him. And instead of getting a big hassle with him.
I could give you, okay, he said if it's that, he said he could do it.
I mean, this is what they've got in Fairlawn on Rosemont Boulevard. I don't know if you've seen that or heard about that. This is and this is on a public road, which is, I think it's totally screwed up. But this is when they were fighting the Walmart in Copley, didn't want that. And this is a remote controlled access that, I know elite emergency services and residents may actually have access to this, but that's been in place for 10, 12 years.
Well, to do that, you have to run electrical there. There's
Yeah.
no electrical supply there. I'm sorry about it, I can do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is something that would probably work, but we're probably talking
Yeah.
$50,000 to $60,000, $70,000 to do.
Unless the city has to pay for it. You know, people may like that. I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know if there's an easy answer, but I guess we would entertain the chain and everything if that's the farthest that they'll go, but it's a fix for now, and maybe they can be cited if it's not,
Decided for one.
if it's not maintained.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
and
should change, yeah, of course, yeah.
it'd be nice if we could get some
Do we get into?
cameras or something down there to see who's people who are, you know, is it the same folks all the
UPS
time?
rocks has been, I mean, everybody's been.
And that would make sense to, you know, something like a UPS truck whose driver is not his car. You know, wipe out this little thing, it's one more dent in the front bumper that
Nobody knows.
Nobody's gonna pick up on to knock the thing down.
Do we get into things like, you made a comment, can the chain be seen and all that?
Right.
And you get into, like, I don't know if there's reflective sign that can hang in the middle or
That's
something?
what,
Yeah,
too. Yeah,
Okay.
like the sign, maybe one on one side, one on the other, and the sign in the center that would say, you know, emergency line, so that they will know it's there. I figure out who
Place.
is gonna submit, and thank you for the comment. Appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah. I don't know. Give it 10 years.
That would be pretty good.
All right, first item on the regular agenda is Blind Salon. Come on up. Good, how are you? What's your name?
I am Mia Brown, I'm representing from
Okay, and I know they had a sign approved last month meeting, and the building owner did not like it.
did not want to let us put directly into the brick. So we are afraid we're on the right, well, this one is on the panel, which is similar to the business next door, like Zuki House and the actual, so it's on the panel. So he was okay with this.
Okay. Well, we did have comments from planner over your thoughts.
Yeah, my report stated October 4th. The primary issue is whether it meets the area requirements, which it does. The proposal is for 18 square feet, and the code, based on the tenant frontage, allows up to 38 square feet. So there's, 12 square feet is being proposed. That's not an issue, given that 38 square feet is permissible. So it really comes down to the style of the sign. As you can see in the little image I put in my report, Mr. Hero has channel letters. The Prime ID, which was recently approved, are individual raised letters. The Howard Hanna is more of a placard style. So it's really up to the commission. I'm not sure the building owner, maybe he's concerned now based on the Prime IV one, but that's a recent sign that was approved, and I would say fairly attractive. So it's really an issue if the commission wants the individual letters or not.
And like I said, this one is in similarity to the other businesses that are, right next door. They're on a panel.
Yeah, that's in a separate plaza, and those are all panels. But this particular building is mixed, right? The Howard Hanna is on a plaque. There were plaques there previously. And then the Prime IV are individual letters.
Would it be like the Howard Hanna one, sort of? Is that the one you're proposing?
Pass this down to him?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that sort of the look for one?
No, it's on a, like a plaque, which is, like I said, similar to the businesses next door. It's different than the Prime IV, but it's similar to the one he said in the other plaque.
I think it's similar to what, probably was there, when it opened and all these different things, various times. I think it started with Mr. Hero, they did something a little more, something electric and something lit up. And then Prime IV came in with something very similar to what you were proposing, which you originally got approved, except I think this is on a raceway. So was it explained to the owner that it could be done similar to the Prime IV, and he still didn't like
Yeah,
that?
and that's just for us as a business, this one is obviously more cost effective to put it on the panel. This is not, this is not an inexpensive sign. It's raised and it's on the raceway, so fast signs, Twinsburg repairs them. So obviously this can be done, but, we're trying to be cost effective to still make it,
Yeah.
attractive and branding purposes and being visible from the street.
I mean, it's gonna look similar to the Howard Hanna.
Yeah, that's what I
It's
thought.
gonna be similar to the next building over, which is similar, it's a different building. I don't know. I don't necessarily have a problem, I just think it's unfortunate that I don't understand really the building owner's issue with it, but. Yep.
And it's kind of, in that case, they kind of set the standard for other businesses, but again, that's not, that's inexpensive signage. So we again try to create something that is not as expensive, but still appealing and we want it to be, I don't think that it being on the building the way he doesn't like, I don't know if that would have worked anyway. They put a white background on the back for at night so that you can still see the volume salon. So this is how their graphic designer designed it.
I mean, I think at some point, whenever these Google pictures we have previous was the print parlor there.
Yeah, hers was pink and dark and it was smaller.
Yeah, I at least like that it's somewhat similar to other stuff that's gone on in a couple of the other businesses around there. And this is what they're all like over at the Center Point, which is also the same building owner.
It would look like the Howard Hanna sign, kind of the one you're proposing. Well, I don't see anything wrong with that, a rather attractive sign.
That's simple, you're not asking for something obnoxiously, bright and everything, so I don't have a little nothing.
Either. It's a shame that they're not all consistent in their building, but they're all in there at different time frames when there's been different requirements or not, so I think that's.
Do you have any thoughts?
Yes, Mrs. Saunders, I know that you talked to Mr. Mignorini regarding the approval of this sign, and he told you that was okay. But can you give us something in writing from him, just for the record, that he's okay with this new proposed sign?
Absolutely, no problem.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Anybody else?
I move to approve the sign as submitted then. That's what I move.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, any more discussion? Any other thoughts? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you. The documentation to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, do you have a copy of this? You've got it. Yeah, you've got a copy. Yep.
Just the one with the white placard, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you
Yes,
just
the
provide
only
it.
thing I need is a letter from Mr.
Okay.
McGuire stating that it's okay for that.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. I'll call on you.
All right, while we're signing that, next up is ground up.
My name is Matt from Cleveland York Architecture. I'm the architect for Kyle and Ryan DeRosa, their father, the DeRosa family. We're also working with the builder, Carl Powell, for CCS, Complete Construction Site Management Solutions. He couldn't be here today, but so we're here. We received your comments. I think we had a couple of questions on our hand, but I think in general, I think it's something we could work through.
Okay. Well, while we, Mr. Francis, if you'd like to go over your thoughts on this.
Sure. My report's dated October 4th. The planning commission remembers when the applicant came in, we had a conversation about doing something because there was a residential home and they were proposing to put effectively like a pole barn in front of it. So it's good that they're moving forward and wanting to do a new building, so that's a nice investment in the city. Just need to work through the details of meeting the code requirements. Just first and foremost, as you take a look at the aerial that I provided, and those are recent pictures, it looks like it's currently being used and being used for outdoor storage. And so if outdoor storage is proposed, we need to know that, and then there's performance requirements for outdoor storage. Most important is the setback when it's adjacent to residential, and so I'll kind of just walk through the different code sections. So my first comment, 116904 F1 requires a 70-foot front yard setback when adjacent to residential, and they're proposing more than 1,000 feet, so there's no issue there. 116904 F3 requires a 15-foot side yard setback when adjacent to industrial zone properties. And so the property to the west property line, as you see on my very elegant drawing on the first aerial, that's industrial to the west. Residential, which is in a different community, is to the east. And so the issue of outdoor storage and the requirement for the setbacks going to come into play with that residential to the east. So 116904 F3B requires a minimum 70-foot side yard setback when adjacent to residentially zoned properties. However, that minimum side yard setbacks increased by 1 foot for every foot of building length over 50 feet when adjacent to residential. The building wall facing the residential to the east is 80 feet, so the setback is required to be 100 feet, and 100 feet is, I think, is the full width potentially of the property. And do you know how wide
Sorry.
the total property, how wide
It's
it is?
about 220. 100 feet takes us to about the center.
Okay, so I don't know, are you proposing outdoor storage?
So that's what we that's one of the questions we kind of would like to talk about today. I think, yes, we would like to ask for outdoor storage, which, as I understand, we gotta go to BZA, right?
If you can't provide the setback, you would have to go for variance.
Well, that's, that specifically, I think that's your point number 4, that we need 300-foot setback.
Yeah, that's
Which
so,
exceeds the property.
which F4, yeah, going on to the next one, 116904 F4 then requires a greater setback for outdoor storage, which is 300 feet when adjacent to residentially, you have, what'd you say, 240, so you can't comply with that. So if you want to have outdoor storage, which is something that's allowed in an industrial district, you'd have to go for a variance.
Right. So that's, I guess, our big crux of the matter, that, so, you know, we could apply for BZA for this upcoming one. But if we can't get that variance, I don't know that we have, that puts us in a tough spot in terms of how we can utilize this property. Is it something, I guess, or is it something like, for example, you know, we're gonna ask for the variance of BZA. If we provide perhaps maybe a berm, like a land berm, or some type of fence, or something, you know, to kind of, you know, provide somewhat of a barrier against the adjacent residential, is that something that you, this is a question for BZA, I know.
Yeah, so this commission wouldn't be able to give you direction on that, and I can't opine on that because a variance is the setting for a variance is a quasi judicial setting. So effectively, it's a mini court case. You have the code, the law, the zoning code that says one thing. You desire to do something different, and so you're asking for a variance in this instance from what the law requires. And this is a practical difficulty test, so you're asking for a dimensional variance. So the test for this is different than like a use question. So there's 9 standards. They're called the Duncan factors that you would have to provide an analysis of and show your furthering or compelling evidence that those standards work in your favor. It's a practical difficulty unique to your property. The fact that it's only 240 feet wide, it's industrially zoned, and allows outdoor storage, that could be in your favor. Adding berming and trees and landscaping is right up their sleeve, and something that would maybe be able to make the Board of Zoning Appeals sort of happier to grant a variance, but those are all things that you'd have to take to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
So I guess just, that's our next step, right? Before we get going further, we gotta go to BZA.
I would say relative to this issue, for sure, if you want outdoor storage, this commission can't approve it because you don't have the standard isn't met, so you'd have to go to the BZA. Now, let's say you get denied. So approved, great, you come back here and you show it and there's criteria for screening and stuff. Let's say you get denied, then under Ohio law, it's called a 2506 appeal. You can appeal to the Court of Common Pleas the decision of the Board of Zoning Appeals. It's a very narrow appeal, but that's something you'd want to talk to legal counsel about if it gets to that point.
Okay.
Or you build more building, which costs more money, and you keep some of your stuff indoors. I don't know what you wanna put outside, so those are all factors you'd have to
Yeah,
consider.
so I see that's another, I guess, a question. Well, as a side note, Kyle brought up that, you know, the immediate adjacent parcel to the east, although it is residential, it's zoned residential, it's owned by the city of Twinsburg, it's not actually residential. So that's something that would be for PCA. It's a sort of an argument in our pocket for PCA.
Yeah, so I think, you know, those are, what do they say? Those are feathers in your cap.
And there's feathers in our cap.
Yeah, so those are, I think if you're gonna make cases to the BZA, those are practical issues to look at. You know, does the property slope a certain way? Are there wetlands? Are there irregularities in the property? Those are all things you'd look at, but this commission can't
Yeah.
provide you direction on that.
Do you think, in terms of outdoor storage for parking, this, like if they were to park trucks, would that count as parking? Does that count as outdoor storage, or is that both?
Well, so if it's a, you know, passenger type vehicle, so it's a F-150 with their logo on it, that's fine.
What if it's an F-250 with our logo on it?
That's fine, I would say. But, you know, if you're putting contractors' equipment outside, then that's outdoor storage.
The only reason we have stuff outside right now is because we don't have a building.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
understand.
It would just be trucks. It's trucks.
Residential area is unbelievable mess.
Yeah, so those are all arguments for the, yeah, the board of Commissioners. That all those things may make a lot of sense to them, and you may get a variance.
And also, so, last question, kind of related to that, is driving, if it's just driving like a turnaround radius, not necessarily storage, a drive for a truck to turn around, is that?
That's not storage.
That's not, that's.
Yeah, I mean, you have, if you need to be able to get in and out of the site.
Garbage truck coming to get a dumpster.
Yeah, for
You
example.
gotta spin around somewhere.
Yeah, dumpster's not outdoor storage, it's a requirement in the code, you have to screen it.
Okay, so
Yeah. Three walls.
we don't need outdoor storage now for all of our trucks outside. Right. It's just parking.
Yeah, again, if they're
So your
just,
comment on your email, that
Yeah.
we look like we're outdoor storing right now because we don't have a building.
Mhm.
So we don't need outdoor storage. If you say we could park our trucks on our asphalt parking lot, it's not outdoor storage. No.
Yeah, so I guess that's just entertaining. Do we, then we're technically, I guess we're not proposing any outdoor storage, it's just vehicles.
yeah, I don't know.
So is that,
I'm looking at an aerial photograph, there's just a lot of stuff
We
skewed
don't
around
have
the
a
site.
building. That's why.
Yeah.
We got a way to leave our other storage facility. This was our only option, so that's why the stuff's outside right now. When we have that building up, we don't have outdoor storage. No, they don't.
Yeah, so that says the other thing, I didn't think, you don't have occupancy for this property. Technically, you're not supposed to be using it
We
at
own
all
it. We own
until you get occupancy.
We own
Yeah, I understand.
yeah, so then that's why we're here, we hope to work with
Yeah.
everybody, and hope to get it.
Yeah, and I think the city's excited to have you build something, but owning it and being able to use it without approvals are two different things. You have to get your approvals first, and then you can start using it. So if it's just passenger-style vehicles, we're not talking contractors' equipment, you know, excavators, things like that, you're not storing mulch, rock, all those things outside, then that's probably fine. Yeah.
I just like to
Yeah.
I think the building.
Yeah, I'd be totally honest with you. If you're gonna do the same thing that you did in Valley View, you're gonna have a problem because we had to take the owner to court for that. We had to get that property cleaned up. I mean, you had everything everywhere, and I think some of the stuff is still be there.
Yeah, no, we only did what the previous, it changed hands, and that's when everything kind of fell apart. But we were just doing what our landlord told us we could do. He said he wanted to fill and stuff, so, but we're not we don't have to dump on our site. If it's not, we have a dump facility right next door. Our neighboring property is a landscape supply yard. We have no reason to store material, and we have it right next door, right? So, I don't think we're proposing outdoor storage at this time.
Yeah, I guess we can move in that direction.
Well, I'm assuming, this is on Dino's part, that the city's gonna keep an eye on it, because the fact that you're using it, you're not supposed to be now, you had issues over on Valley View Road. The thought of, okay, we'll get our approvals, and then trailers are just sitting around, and mulch is sitting around outside, it's not gonna fly.
No, absolutely.
And I say absolutely, but we have documented reasons to not necessarily believe that, because,
With all due respect, you can't hire anything on their backs and expect us to operate.
yeah, we can't. And you don't have occupancy, you don't have approval, you don't have permits to do what you're doing.
Right, at the Valley View shop, the Valley View summer building, to be honest with you, we had no idea what was allowed, what was not allowed, given what we knew from the landlord who we were paying rent to. We just did what he said, and it was, to our knowledge, okay, until the property changed hands, and that's when it all came to realization that, hey, none of this is okay. And that's when we came to the occupancy permit, realized we couldn't get it, and that's why we're here. We wanna build a building, we wanna do it the right way, your guys' way. And that's what we're trying to do, so you tell us what we not permit for the property there.
Okay.
Where do you go about applying for, I guess, a temporary one for right now, until we get the building? How do we go about that? Is it a lease?
You can't issue.
I don't know if there is.
Well, you can come to the building department and apply for it, but I don't know that you're gonna get it without a building there. I mean, you're not allowed to put all kinds of storage there. As soon as you come to the building department, we'll come over, inspect the place and tell you to move out, because you shouldn't be there, so. I mean, you're doing the right thing, moving forward with this, okay? So, I mean, it seems like everybody here is willing to work with you, but there is rules and regulation you have to abide by. I mean, we're here to help you, we're not here to hinder you, but, you know, you just have to do what you're allowed to do there.
How fast could this building become built and occupied?
Well, that's a very good question. Our general contractor was ready to start moving dirt now, but so BZA is next November, let's say we get on that. Let's say that goes well, we'll have a planning commission in the following December. So then, if all, saying everything goes well, and we submit building department drawings, so I would say, best case scenario, we'll have our permits in what, February? I mean, I'm thinking out loud.
Were there other things that you potentially would need to go to BZA for?
Basically, the second half, I think you're saying, as soon as they tell us we can, we're ready to go.
Yeah, so we're ready to go, but I think.
Does it take 6 months to build a building? Is it a year? Is it 3 months?
Well, no, I think provided weather is good, I think the building that we're proposing will go up relatively quick. A block building with prefab trusses.
Well, let's assume right now you walked out of here and you had full approvals and the blessing to move forward. How long is it gonna take?
For construction?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I would think, I think Carl moves quick, I would say 3-4 months, you would have the building up to the point where you could do a final inspection, you know. So I think he would potentially be quicker. I don't want to speak on the other, but he moves, he doesn't waste much time. But, and from a drawing standpoint too, you know, we're working with Hess and Associates, civil engineers, and we're working with WHS engineers. So I think we could put together a construction document that's pretty quick. It's not a complicated building, it's a pretty simple building. So I think we can move fast on it. But again, we want to do things the right way. We don't want to put the cart before the horse and then all of a sudden go back 10 steps and re-engineer a civil plan or something like that. So
I think, yeah, probably your biggest decision, and maybe you've already made, is the outdoor storage. Think about it, but you're gonna have to move quick if you want to get to the BZA, so, yeah.
So we could get it, I believe the application is due at the end of the week. Correct?
Sounds right.
Trying to find.
I think we could get it by the end of the week.
What are you asking for?
Well, at this point, that's a good question. Are we still, do you guys suggest we go to BZA and ask for this, for the outdoor storage component?
I guess you gotta decide if
Well,
you.
Would that help us right now? To have the trucks outside so we can get the building built? We got the variance for outdoor storage.
Would it
Right
buy us some
now,
time?
would it buy us the time that we need to be able to get the building built? Because we're saying the building can be built in, you know, hopefully by the first of the year and be in. I know when we started this process, we were talking December, January, November, December to have the building built with weather cooperation. So if we got the variance for outdoor storage, even if it's on a temporary basis, with the timeline, that would put us in a position to be in compliance with everything here, fully transparent, and we can still transact this, they can still, wouldn't create a financial hardship for the business and have to force them to make another decision. Right now, it's,
I guess that's maybe a building department question, you know, if they're moving forward in this process, whether it's to get outdoor storage or to get the approval and to get construction started in the building going, what's your stance on what the building department's going to do regarding?
Well, you know, we encourage businesses to come in the area. We like to work with businesses, so we're not coming to your place and say, you know, you gotta leave tomorrow. I mean, that's not gonna happen. But, you know, there's a reasonable amount of time here that we're, you know, willing to give you. But at the same time, you have to show that you are doing things to move in, you know, in the right direction. As long as we, you know, have that communication and cooperation that you are doing things, then we'll be okay,
and
you know.
that's what we're here for. Originally, again, our thought process was we learned this process was that we purchased the property, okay, we come to the building department, and we would like to build a building on the property that we own. The building department tells us what the codes are and how we build this building, everything goes forward, just like you would do an addition on your house or something like that. We realize we have to put planning commission in that, so we try and follow those steps, and again, getting the variance allows us to buy the time to create the building to the standards that everybody wants. Definitely.
We just have to tread lightly, because as soon as something is perceived as an exception for you guys, then the people after you nitpick, they watch the video, they watch the minute, you did it for these guys, why wouldn't you have so there's always extenuating circumstances, so that's why we want this all out. Yeah, well, no, but that's why there's questions being asked, it's public, all that, so.
Sorry.
Joe, talking about delays and all that, Joe had some things here about sanitary sewer and septic tank, and I don't know, wouldn't that delay matters a bit too? Isn't there something involved with that for this parcel?
Well, yeah, but I think we're still on Brian's memo. I don't wanna jump ahead here.
Oh,
but,
well, okay.
Yeah,
There's another.
I have several civil comments, but,
Yeah.
you know, that can be handled as part of the overall process.
I think your concern is, is someone gonna show up tomorrow and shut it down? You know, and I know you don't want that. Hearing what Nina's saying, they'll work with you a little bit. I'm not sure he's willing to, right now, give you a, you know, okay, it's gotta be done by such and such, or things, yeah. I would speak with them. I'd advise going up and talking to the building department, see how they'd like to handle it. You are moving forward the process, you have submitted plans, you've got comments, you can address those, you can decide. I think my opinion, I would only go to the BZA if you really want to get the long-term outdoor storage. You know, because you're not gonna be able to comply with everything tomorrow anyway, you know, as it is, even if you got the BZA approval. So I would think you would only go after that if you truly actually want the outdoor storage. I don't know that it's gonna necessarily help the process with the building department. But I would have it within, you know, very soon.
In past, not in past projects, you could apply for a temporary use permit for a short amount of time until something is achieved.
Well, you know, you have to have a building for us to give an occupancy permit. I mean, you just got a land there that you're using with equipment and stuff. But let me ask you a question, because I'm a little confused here. When you say outdoor storage and you go for a variance, what is exactly outdoor storage? What do you plan on having on the outside there?
Yeah, it sounds like trucks.
Just trucks?
Yeah,
You're not
so
talking
parking.
about, again, like we said, mulch or stones, you know, grass that you bring from another jobs and stuff?
That would
It's just
be-
equipment?
No, as of right now, we're proposing a building that's large enough for us to put everything we need inside. And like I said, we have a supplier next door. I think if down the road we ever decided we want to be like material storage and sell materials out of there, I think it'd be a whole nother can of worms if we would cross a bridge to go to BZA and do all that. Right now, we need a building to run our business out of, so we're not worried about storing material on site. And
So
all that.
you
I
do
need to keep my salt trucks dry this
You do
winter.
snow plowing, right?
Yes.
What do you do with your salt?
We buy it from Nordonia Landscape Supply.
So you don't store any salt inside? Okay, well,
No.
I mean, if it's just equipment, I don't really see a problem. I think the BZA would have no problem. I mean, I can't speak for them, but I don't know why they wouldn't give you, you
So
know.
do we even need to go to BZA if it's just equipment? Equipment will be inside, sorry.
It's trucks.
Trucks.
Yeah, just trucks.
Parking.
I mean, if they're just commercial trucks, I don't,
No semis.
you don't even need a variance.
Yeah.
So I think they're.
I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier. If you have an F-150, F-250 with your logos on it, that's no problem. That's not outdoor storage. Those are vehicles that are, those are
Part of the business.
And we
passenger
have plenty of
vehicles.
square footage, so it doesn't matter. I guess this is more or less just to make sure we're making you guys happy down the road when we do get to move forward. Trailers, you know, an enclosed trailer with our sticker on it. We have enough room to put them all inside. Would they be allowed to be outside? Is that outdoor storage or is that just a trailer hooked up to my truck? Or is that a fine line? I
Listen,
don't.
if you have a couple of trailers and they're screened from the residents or something, I mean, I don't know that anybody's really gonna
Okay.
come back.
No, that was just a question. I just want, like I said, we're trying to comply with you guys. We want to make this work. We're going to be there forever,
But
right? So,
again,
I'm assuming your trailers are, those are enclosed trailers for your
we have
zero
enclosed
turn
trailers,
mowers and whatever your.
equipment, everything else, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, I,
We have a dump trailer, 2 dump trailers also, so they're just black, open trailers with high sides.
I think the only reason they were asking, this gentleman was asking, should they still go to BZA, is it to get the approval so that they could have outdoor storage while they're working out the details of the building. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
I don't think that that's
Okay,
necessary
appreciate that.
Okay.
unless you want it long-term.
Yeah, and that, again, that may be a future plan to do something with material, but not right now. Right now, we just need to get stuff inside so that we can operate. You know, there's a lot of families that depend on this business that work for them.
So maybe at this point, going back to the comments, let's assume that there's no outdoor storage. You can kind of, that that's not what you're proposing. If you guys change your mind, you can go, you've got the comments here and you can apply to the BZA, but we can let Mr. France go on with it. If you've got any other comments, then Mr. July.
Sure. Yeah, so the next comment is just relative to the height of the structure. Should be no issue there. There looks like they're about 17 feet or so, and the code allows up to 60. My question, though, on the next comment has to do with the site plan. There's a option 1. What happened to option 2?
I think we only had option
Generally,
Presented.
it's just a site plan. So is this the only site
one.
plan?
It's the only site plan.
Option 1 makes me think in my head there's more than one option for a site layout, and I was curious what it was. And part of the reason I asked the question is I feel like I'm not sure why you're putting it so close. It's your choice, you're meeting the setback, but why you put it so close to the property line at 15 feet? Why not bump it a little bit to give yourself future? I feel like for the future, that's better for you, but that's your decision.
So is that setback, that 100-foot setback, that's, the driveway could go within that setback?
Yeah,
It's just
I think it's a
building
setback for
access.
structures.
Okay. I mean, the 15-foot vari, we tucked it as far as we can to the side, to the, was it west side, was to try to adhere to that variance, that 100-foot, sorry, that 100-foot setback. To push it, that leads to your comment about the fire truck? Is that?
Well, so the fire department typically wants to be able to have access, and I don't want to speak for them, but typically they want full access around the building.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's a fire code requirement so much as it's an NFPA standard, but the fire department would be able to speak to that. I just raise the issue, as I always do on my plan reviews, just to try to be thorough on issues that may come up. You also note that I speak to the stormwater management. I'm not going to review that, but it's an issue that I know the engineer is going to pick up on, that there is none at this time. It's okay there is none. It's kind of a preliminary plan right now.
For OBC, for Ohio Building Code, if you get a building area increase, if you have a fire truck all the way around the perimeter, or the more perimeter you have access to, you get an area increase. Our building is, it's small enough, you don't need that area increase. So it's not required by OBC to have a fire truck all the way around, unless there's other requirements that constitute that.
What's your 60 by 80?
60 by 80, yeah. 40, what is it, 100 square feet?
Yeah.
For a
4,800.
type 3D construction. 3D, Yeah, I don't remember the number off the top, but I think we have the minimum there.
If you give it to us, we'll take it.
Yeah,
You would appreciate the fact we can get around it.
yeah, so that's,
I also have to, we talked about it in the last one, when you guys were here, the 300 footage for the hydrants and stuff. So,
It's not a requirement, you know, the fire department's not a requirement, it'd be nice, you would definitely encourage them.
we would encourage them, and actually, if they've got trailers, it would be helpful to them too.
okay,
Okay.
that's something we'll consider.
Yeah, so that was relative to my item number 7, and sure, that would give you some more access, but I'm looking at, when I look at plan reviews, I try to look at how do I see in the future this being used, that maybe there's a better way to think about this to give the private property owner an advantage in the future. I feel like bumping it up right to that 15 foot, it shoehorns them a little bit on that side, so if you can carry it further onto the property because the driveway's in the setback, it's the building that we're worried about, but that's entirely your choice. So, what's the old adage, I'm here with the government, I'm here to help. Actually, so I am. I'm trying to just give you some thoughts about maybe it'd be better for you in the future to give you some extra room on that side.
The
We'll consider.
driveway being able to be outside was kind of, one we were asking about, you know, truck being able to turn around, and I'm assuming you kind of cut your parking lot off there as tight as you did to stay within that 100 feet. It sounds like that doesn't have to happen, it's the building that's gotta stay there, so if you need to move it over, it's not gonna shrink that side pavement down.
You got a little room to work with, and it might be to your advantage in the future to have that.
When you're even more successful, you wanna add on to the building, you room that.
Yeah, we'll consider it.
And then, so the parking, you just have to calculate the parking based on the actual use of the building. There's multiple uses, right? So you have storage, you have office.
Yeah.
So when you do your next rendition of the plan, just add a little table or something that calculates what the parking is.
Yeah, I think we'll have, the storage is 800 square feet, so that's, I think we need it, but I'll adjust I'll add a table.
Yeah, and then offices are at 1 to 300.
Yeah.
So I
1 to 400. Was it 1 to 400?
Well, I can tell you in 1 second.
Maybe it's 1 to 300.
Let's see.
If that, well, yeah, if that's what it is, so.
Yeah, 1 to 300 for admin office.
Okay.
You got plenty of space, just when you run the calculation, just put a little table and show that you're compliant based on the actual use of the building, the division of uses within the building. And then, let me skip over 8 for just a minute. So dumpster locations, we'll need to have that on a future plan. Photometrics, landscaping, again, the stormwater management, and then the plan, you'll need to draw it to engineer scale. You could do 11 by 17 is fine if you want to say paper. You don't have to have the full prints, just to scale.
You're okay with half size set?
I mean, yeah, I don't have a problem with
And everything's PDF these days anyway.
Yes. So
One of the applicants tonight has this. If I can avoid this, which I like paper, if you can do 11 by 17s, it's fine.
I think, oh gosh, Hess's drawings, I think we're at engineer scale.
It's
Yeah,
entirely,
it would have been.
it's entirely up to you. It's just to scale. I don't
This is
necessarily
1 to
care.
32nd architecture scale.
Yeah, I don't recognize architects.
Yeah.
It's bad. Engineer scale.
Yeah. No, that's not.
I was teasing, by the way. So yeah, those are the kind of real easy things, right? So then architecture, I just noted here, it's documented on the exterior elevation sheet, generally describes the building mainly constructed of white split-face block with the peak of the building faced with fiber cement board. The color is unknown. The roof's proposed to be white standing seam metal. Unfortunately, only the east and south elevations are provided. Small square windows are shown in both elevations, but details are not provided. It's unknown if these windows are comprised of vision glass, which is what we want. Yeah. So future submittals need to, provide full details on the building architecture. I get it, your early stages, but we'll need all of that. Colors, all the information about the building materials. And I would say generally all white, really probably is not.
Yeah, so that's something that, I think, we spoke about that, and I think we're willing to look at different, colors and stuff like that, but originally, I believe they did kind of want the old white building, sort of the look, you know what I mean?
White with black trim, like,
White with
when
black
we were
trim.
proposing the metal building, it was to be white, 4 feet of black. So we were trying to kind of keep that look, so we had what we're trying to.
Yeah, so.
They wanted the same look, but it's,
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I get, it's really for the commission to kind of decide with you, but I feel like you're an industrial use, an industrial building, it's gonna be really hard to keep that clean, but I guess that's for conversation.
we don't work at our shop per se. Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean, like, we go there in the morning, we get the equipment out we need, and we're gone for the day. We go hang out there.
Yeah. So we'll look at the materials. If you like, we could, for the next meeting, we could show 2 options. If that's something that the commission, an option 1 or option 2 or something, just to kind of help push things along.
Yeah, and when I look at the architecture and the code, it's kind of a, let's call it a 50,000 foot level when I review it, then the city has an architectural advisor, and you probably have Pam Schultz in her comments, she really dives deep into the building, so you want to continue to work with her for sure.
I think we could start addressing.
So, relative to my report then, so the outdoor storage wasn't, kind of a significant issue in my mind, but if it's just, vehicles, basically passenger type vehicles, and it's not heavy equipment and things, it's probably just fine. So you, as the chair said, and the building commissioner is really willing to work with you, technically you're not supposed to be using the site until you get approval. So you're using the site for a use that can't be approved because it doesn't meet setback standards, and it's not even allowable because you don't have an occupancy. But with that said, continue forward and do these things. But I just want to be clear on the record for the city's sake. That's my job, is kind of protect them. That should you back away from the building at any given point, you don't have occupancy on the property. You won't be able to use the property if you did build a building. So just,
I agree.
just so we're all on the same page.
I agree. Thank you. Joe, would you go through yours?
Yeah, so given time here, I'm not going to read every comment on here. You guys have the written memo from me, but I'll just touch on a few. Stormwater management is important, so on your next submittal, please show whatever stormwater management feature you guys plan to use. Chip Hess will guide you through that process, I'm sure of it. The driveway, I did notice you wrote to the existing gravel driveway to be paved. Typical, that's great, but the typical section doesn't actually appear on the drawing, so on your next submittal, please show us what that typical paving section will be. As Mr. Cox brought up, I'm guessing that this old house has a septic system, and if the house is going to be demolished, that has to go away, so that goes through Summit County Board of Health. So we would need, once you have that approval and taken care of with them, please show that to us. And I guess, I don't know, the last thing we're maybe talking about for a second is on Chip Hess's drawing. It actually shows at least the deck of the existing house and maybe the house itself being over the property line onto the neighboring property, which I guess is actually in another city. So you don't have to answer on the spot how you're going to handle that, but it needs to be addressed.
Demo. We're taking it there.
Okay.
Okay.
I did have one question, if I could ask.
Yeah.
your first comment on the wetlands.
Oh, yes.
So I guess we could, we work with Land Solutions, we work with HCW.
Yeah, there you go.
Is that
They
something-
could provide that service for you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is that-
HCW can.
Is it something that, I guess what triggers that? Just the fact that there's a stream on the property or?
No, just the size of the project, we're disturbing, an amount of acreage that's over the threshold. Some of it is, undeveloped or maybe wooded or whatever it is, so.
So if we maintain 60 feet or so from the stream, from the riparian?
No, that's different, riparian setback, yes.
We still have.
Riparian setback and wetlands delineation would be two entirely separate items. So HZW can absolutely guide you through the wetland delineation process.
Yeah.
So if you're working with them, I would suggest reaching out to them or a similar company. Riparian setback is separate. I would ask Chip Hess to make sure he shows that on the next submittal. Clearly show the stream and the riparian setback with, per the code, just to make sure the work you're doing doesn't fall within that riparian setback.
Yeah, I see. I guess the question, I just, is there any way to avoid that requirement, or we have to?
I kind of think the answer is no.
Yeah, okay, that's sort of, I didn't know if we can maintain a certain distance.
No, I think at this point the answer is no.
Okay.
Good question, though.
But it may be a much more condensed review. If you're significantly far from the riparian, then HCW probably, I hate to say it, they're probably charging a lot less because they're not doing it in depth. They're able to look at it in their professional opinion, it's far enough away, they put their name on it, give you a quick report.
Yeah, yeah. We'll reach I don't know, I guess it's it. Is there any?
Yes, there was comments from the architectural drawing. Did you see those?
Yeah, I did. I think we could address those. We started, on our side, we started looking at various options. So an awning, we originally had an awning on the building. Some of the banding or the different materials or introducing a different color, we'll look into that. We'll provide maybe again, if you guys suggest this to their, maybe we'll provide one or two options. And you could say you like option one or you like option two, that way we can proceed with.
Sure, we could do that.
Yeah.
Scott, did you see anything in there that needs to be discussed, or if they're just there to
No, I
address
think,
them?
yeah, if they're looking to address them, I don't think it's worth getting into too much detail on these.
Would it be, I was just asking this a second, Pam Schultz, would we give her a call just to have, talk through some things with her, or ahead of the next planning commission meeting, or is
I
that?
think that's appropriate, right? That
Mm-hmm.
Other applicants,
Yeah, just to.
if you need her contact,
Get
the
her ducks in a
department
row.
could hook you up.
Okay.
So I guess, yeah, there's a variety of things, I mean, you gotta make your final decision on it if you do want to do the outdoor stores. Sounds like you're leaning towards not. Variety of comments in Mr. Francis' memo that you can address, and you may look at adjusting the layout, knowing that you can push the driveway and that into the setback, just not the building, and some additional details. I think knowing that you're willing to work with us on the architecture, and if we're not gonna have a variance issue that we've gotta get through, I'm sure we can work with you to get something to work. But there is a good bit of this work still to be done for approvals. So I'm thinking we continue this to the next meeting, so we let you guys address those, unless the committee has a different opinion.
Okay.
So let you take these comments back and chew on them. I would reach out to the building department soon, just to kind of talk about it, move forward. But that, I'd make a motion to continue this to the November meeting.
1 second.
Yeah. Oh,
Before you guys do all your finished planning and everything, keep in mind your size, your square footage for sprinkler.
I think we're under the requirement for sprinkler too, but I'll double check. Verify.
Any questions, give me a buzz.
What is the square footage?
Minimum is 5,000 square foot, so you need a sprinkler, and that's fire area. So when you put your second floor above your office area here, you're just mirroring the first floor. So that included as a separate zone. So that and what is kind of expected is going to be parked inside, kind of like their equipment, engines, trucks.
You guys would be over the requirement based on the plans, 4,800 square feet on the main level, and then the second floor is 1,130.
Yeah, for the next meeting, I'll do a code review as well. I'll have the code review, so it'll address it. I think we'll be okay in that regard.
Okay. Sorry, should have asked you before I started. Anybody else?
You normally do. I was gonna.
Anyone else? You know anybody else?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, I'll make a motion to continue this to the November meeting.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, I look forward to seeing
Thanks,
you.
guys. Thank you for your time.
Next is Northern Hasselhoff Premier Development.
Hi.
Hello.
What is she doing about them, right? I've updated site plans.
Thank you.
But you have one, so you can talk to something. All right, why don't you go ahead and tell us what you're proposing?
Okay, so we are just looking to add 20 parking spots to the existing north side of Northern Nazareth, and we are leaving space for 6 trailer parking stalls.
That's,
Takes
the
that-
west end, okay.
Yes.
All right, it's easy. France, you're over here.
Well, that answers my questions, huh?
It does, yeah.
No, that's great. There was that about 6,000 square feet of that undesignated heavy-duty parking, heavy-duty asphalt that I sort of figured that's probably what the purpose was, but it didn't show it on the plan, so that's why I raised the issue. Provided from a drainage standpoint, city engineers finds it acceptable draining into that existing catch basin on the western side. So my questions were, will additional trailers be stored outside and then clearly marked? So I'm comfortable with it, being the outdoor storage of those trailers designated. It's same, you were here for,
I was.
yeah, so same comments, right?
Sean?
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. Just two things, I guess, to piggyback off of Mr. Francis' comments. The drainage approach is perfectly acceptable. It's the way this site was originally designed 15 years ago, I think. So we're good there. I would just say we would ask the owner to provide some sort of report or inspection of the existing detention pond. The building's been vacant for a few years. I don't know what condition the pond is in. We just want to make sure it's working properly, so a little written report with some pictures would be great. If there's something that's deficient, we'd ask the owners, clean it up, get it working properly, and then we did speak briefly for a moment. We'll provide you with the standard stormwater management agreement. We'll get that to you here later this week.
Perfect. And we did do a survey with existing drawings. We did survey the basin. It does meet the potential capacity.
Okay.
I have that letter from LDL.
Oh, that'd be great.
They also did a-
Yeah, that'd be great. And then as far as the outlet structure and all that, hopefully they took some pictures, or they checked it out, make sure it's working
We did,
properly?
and we
Good.
flushed all the lines as well.
Oh, that's
So,
fantastic.
we're
Yeah, great, yeah, provide us that info and I think we'll be good. Thank you.
And if I can just add one more comment, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'll just say thank you, because there's a lot of outdoor storage in the city that is not compliant, and this poor guy and his very small staff have to deal with a lot of it. So it's appreciative when you document it, it's striped, and it's maintained the way you guys are doing. I think the city appreciates that.
You mean, parking anywhere on a half-hearted gravel lot is not acceptable?
Well, I know that they recognize that maybe one of their neighbors isn't as organized. So, and then that's
No,
an
we
enforcement
definitely
thing.
recognize that.
Yeah, and then that's a lot of enforcement.
Well, I have to say that I did a final inspection this afternoon at 3 o'clock, and one of my comments to the superintendent there was that I was really pleased to work with such a great company. They were easy to work with, and the building, it just came out super. So it's really a feather in the city's hat. It's just a first-class operation, so thank you.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
Fire department?
Good.
Okay. You have anything else? Any other comments? So your comments were addressed with this new segment, and the only change is just the marking of this down at the end? Okay. Do you guys have any questions?
Looks good.
Chairman, my stuff can be handled administratively.
Okay, okay. I think Francis' recommendation is as long as we confirm just a couple things, you know, we can approve this with administrative review of the code.
I'd go along with that, that's a motion.
Sure, that's a motion approved with administrative review of code compliance. Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Well, that was quick.
It was, thank you so much.
Thank you. This is Okay.
No, they're actually moving out their cooler and solar. So we're staying on Alexander, and then we go cooler zoning here on the converted.
While we're signing this, National Church business.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd like to note in the minutes that Ms. Meskey is recusing herself
Thank
and
you.
stepping into the audience on this one. Welcome back. Never. Well, if you guys want to, if there's any update you want to give, or we could jump into any of the comments, it's up to you.
Well, we're prepared to make some responses to the comments we received, based on the information that we provided, and things that we've updated as well, in response to the comments that we received. So if it's, go down to the comment, for the comment pages one by one, we can do that, or we can provide you updated information.
Yeah, French, you want to introduce each, you maybe go comment by comment, have you give your thoughts on it and have them respond?
Yeah,
That sounds
I don't think
okay.
there's a lot left, based on my review dated October 9th. So the first thing is, sounds like in your response letter, you have submitted necessary evidence to the mayor. I just don't know what that status of that is, so I suggested any approval by the commission be stipulated on getting that approval, that the mayor, I think, has to take that to city council.
It would be a condition of the approval.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. So building height, not an issue. Landscape plan has been revised. Adds additional green giant arborvitae on the northern property line, so I think that satisfactorily addresses my comments from the last time. Then the easement issue number 4, the applicant states that the sidewalk and landscape features that conflict with the easements will be handled privately between the property owners. I said this is acceptable provided the commission stipulates this in connection with any approval that they issue. Then on sheet L1, the landscape plan, I recommended previously to have the entrance driveway lined with trees on both sides. In response, sheet L1 has been updated to include 10 autumn maples on both sides of the entrance driveway. My only suggestion is to add one additional autumn maple on the east side of the driveway as it makes the turn into the main portion, just simply to balance it out. Did that make sense, what I was?
Yeah, it did. I mean, if the planning commission desires that, we can include that.
Yeah, it's just one additional tree. It just seems to balance that area out. Tough on your landscape arborist here. So, that was that issue, and then the dumpster location sheet AS 102 provides details about the dumpster enclosure materials. Sheet 2.0 documents the location being on the north side of the site. I believe that was moved.
It was, I can go into detail, but yeah, we considered the comments from the planning commission, we evaluated the site plan and decided that better location was to the west of the building, so it wasn't viewed from the entry and wasn't by our outdoor patio area either.
Yeah, and I'm fine with the location of it. It will contain 3 masonry walls faced with brick veneer and a gate comprised of board-on-board white composite material, connected with 2 brick columns. The only thing I just stated was that the commission should confirm that the brick is the same what's being used in the main building. I suspect it is,
Yeah,
but.
it would be, yeah.
Photometrics, there's just one spot. The photometric sheet that's provided, it appears generally that 0-foot candles at all property lines except at the driveway entrance, the intersection with Valley View Road along the southern property line coming into the site. The photometrics are more intense, some case exceed 1.5 foot candles. So just recommended that that be toned down, maybe shielding it differently, turning it differently, whatever. But it's generally up near your entrance.
Yeah, we brought you a readable copy too.
Yeah, that was a little.
Because of the blurry.
Yeah,
I think it's
a little.
actually 0.5 now that we have this copy.
Yeah, and 0.5 is
That'd be
fine.
good.
Our preference is to get to 0, but 0.5 is fine.
Yeah, it's what, we can provide a copy to you to take a look at right now.
Yeah, you can submit them into the record. I'd say if you're here certifying on the record that it's been revised and it shows that.
I think
that's
it's
fine.
clarification. Frankly, what was there, you said it was a blurry copy, and I don't know if it's just a better quality print.
Okay. And then, building architecture, last comment, it's this made of fiber cement board and brick along the first floor. That was a previous comment, so it's been updated. And now there's been more brick added, less fiber cement board to the building facade. The HVAC units are shown and screened with landscaping, so I have no additional comments regarding the building architecture. I think the final development plan is well prepared and substantially addresses all the prior comments. I believe the commission can consider final plan approval subject to these minor comments provided on one final updated plan that's for administrative approval. I don't need, the volume of the storm reports and things, just one final plan if the commission accepts it that documents those and just a clean copy to move into the permitting stage. And I can answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Springs?
No, I don't think so at this point. I think we've addressed the concerns that were raised previously. Hope we've done it adequately.
No, I think you've done, all your letters, it's been very professional, your approach, and it's sort of prepared an adjudication letter like a building department would see on, what's outstanding, what you've done to correct those things, and it's appreciative, and I think your project's well thought through at this point, and
Thank you.
Recommended approval.
So from yours, and I know we've got other comments, but from yours, it's the documentation of
The age restriction issue.
the age restriction issue. That, it's an additional tree, it's, the issue of the conflict of the easements will be handled privately between property owners and the tree. They've confirmed the brick is the same. Review, you'll can verify the lighting issue. I think that's it off of yours.
I would agree.
Okay.
Mr. July? Yeah, thanks, Chairman. I'll go through my memo here quickly. Number one was stormwater management report. We have your report. We're currently reviewing it. I will say thank you. I did notice the revision. You no longer show detention basin B emptying into the neighbor's detention pond. I see it's now routed over to what you're calling detention basin A, and then leaving your site. So I appreciate that. That could have been a real recipe for a problem, dumping your pond into the neighbor's pond. So thank you for that. We'll get you review comments on that administratively here soon. So same thing with your detailed construction plans. We're also reviewing that. We'll get you our administrative comments here in the near future. I know that. Number three, this one is a little bit of an issue. You guys submitted Exhibit A, which was an email from some sort of consultant with what I would say is a very soft statement. He says, "We would say there are no jurisdictional waters on the site." I'm not sure that that quite meets the standard that we need. Usually folks just simply submit the report from the environmental consultant, and my thought to this body would be we ask you to do the same. And even if they submit the report and in the executive summary it says there are no jurisdictional waters on the site, then hey, that's fantastic. But we need some proof that the site was surveyed by a proper wetland scientist or professional. So if you could please provide that.
I give an updated letter, it's a little more definitive, and I can provide you, the wetland documentation is contained in our Phase 1 environmental site assessment.
Okay.
I know we typically follow, what is it, the 1507E ASTM 1527 standard, but because of the Phase 1 requirements, we have additional services that are built into that review. So as part of that review, they did review the wetland documentation, they did do a site observation, and they've documented within the Phase 1.
Okay, so we had a professional visit and walk the site?
Yes. Okay, and that's what this letter states.
Okay.
I can give you a copy, I have 5 copies of the letter I can provide to you. I didn't bring a full copy of the Phase 1, I mean, that, as you know, it's a pretty robust document. I mean, I can provide that to you as a PDF if that would be preferred.
Yeah, why don't you submit everything to our clerk, Susan, please?
Okay, I can provide Phase 1 to you by
Yeah.
probably Dropbox link or something.
Yeah, that would be, I think, the proper way to go about it. We just want to make sure that you have had a professional wetland scientist visit the site, walk the site, and delineate for any possible wetlands per the Army Corps standards. That's really what's supposed to happen. And I don't know if that's happened. You don't have to answer right on the spot. You may or may not know, but that's really what we're looking for. So if you could submit the info you have to Susan, I appreciate it, and we can review it to see if it is code compliant. Really, we just want to make sure we're not wiping out any federally protected wetlands on the site. Or if so, then you need to go to the Army Corps to get the appropriate permit. So that's what we're after. I'm sure you've been through the process before you too.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, I won't beat that one up anymore. Here's another bit of a concern. That's the new access road, and we're on the right track. I'm glad we're rebuilding it, which is absolutely the right thing to do here, get it up to standard. I did notice that instead of catch basins in the usual storm sewers, we simply have some curb cuts on one side of the road, and instead of a typical crown, it's designed all sloping to one side. The curb cuts, I would not recommend that. It was tried once here in the city years ago, did not work very well, didn't drain properly in some areas, we had some erosion problems in some others. I think we need the typical catch basin setup in the sags, or as needed, you would know how to design it.
Yep.
And then, I'm not sure how the other neighbors would feel about this building an unconventional road. I'm not sure what the benefit of it is, quite honestly.
So there is a sanitary sewer that runs down the high side of the roadway,
Mhm.
and it's really close to the curb line. So putting catch basins on both sides of the road would be problematic with a conflict with the sanitary sewer.
Okay.
Putting catch basins in instead of curb cuts, we can work around that. We can put those in a couple areas of the low areas, or kind of where it makes sense to adjust the grading as need be.
Okay.
But yeah, the sanitary sewer is the main reason why sheet throwing it to the one side makes the most sense.
Okay.
And also the drainage area is also relatively small, but I think.
Yeah, it's not a huge drainage area.
So I think.
Okay. With that being said, do we have any feedback from Simonson and from Northwoods? I guess I just want to avoid a situation where if we approve everything and you guys build this road, and instead of the typical crown like you see everywhere, it all slants to one side, and the other people who are a party to this easement say, what the heck is that? And they come back to the city and say, well, why did you approve this? Do we have any feedback from them?
No.
Can you provide some feedback? Because it does have to be a shared thing. I just don't want all of us, yourselves included, to have a problem later when something unconventional is built.
Yeah, I mean, we will be presenting the plans to the parties that are
Okay,
that
good.
share the easement to,
Mhm.
and we are required to get their written approval, which cannot be unnecessarily withheld.
Okay.
And since we're improving the shared driveway to city standards, I think they cannot withhold approval for building to city standards. So that's the plan, and it's something we were going to do here coming up in.
All right, so you're going to be showing them the plans, and they're going to be signing some sort of document that we all agree to, this is what's going to be built.
Yeah,
Is what you're
plus
saying.
we're going to be interrupting their access, so of course we're going to be communicating with them, but we
Okay.
wanted to wait till the appropriate time.
All right, can you share that with us when you have it in writing? That'd be great. And I would just ask that you're clear with the other stakeholders that this is an unconventional construction, having the side slope all to one side instead of the typical center ground. That sounds good. That answers number 5, thank you. Brian already touched on number 6, I won't touch on it anymore. Number 7, your plan showed relocate some overhead wires and associated utility poles. I'm assuming that that's owned by Ohio Edison?
Yeah, First Energy, Ohio Edison.
Okay, yeah, and I'm assuming you've been coordinating with them. Can you at least share with us what coordination you've had to this point, just so we know? And, I don't, it's not our thing to permit, but we should know that you're coordinating with them. It is an important part of the project here.
This is an important part of the project,
Yeah.
I agree completely, and one that's a long lead time. So we have started that process. We have the W number and the DR number. I actually reached out to them, I think, 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And I do have an email from the designer, it's called the area planner, or area designer, I'm not sure.
Yeah, what's their name?
His name is Seth Cameron.
Oh, yeah,
He
not
just
sure.
started, he said he was a lineman before, but now he's a designer.
Promotion.
I'm actually meeting with him on Thursday.
Oh, good.
So we've been talking about different routes and other options.
Okay.
So, yeah, I
No.
can leave this with you, 5 copies of this.
That's good. Yeah, if you could just pass that along to Susan, that'd be great. We'll put it in our file. Appreciate that. And then last, this was an item we talked about at the last meeting, and I don't know if there's been any resolve to this, and this is the somewhat unusual septic easement that runs across the property. Do we have any more information on that?
We have shifted the building, so it is outside of the septic easement.
Okay.
So that aspect of it, I'll let Kevin speak of how much more of the EPA and whatnot he needs to speak on that. Yeah, I I mean, we've decided that the path of least resistance at this point was to move the building to stay within the setbacks and outside of the easement area. So the easement is gonna be running underneath our parking lot and some sidewalks, which, you know, Mr. Hans brought up, that, you know, if that easement's actually in use and we have access to it, we will, as the property owner, be on the hook for doing repairs from the disturbance that we made.
You mean any disturbance to some sort of underground piping that might be in the easement?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
If it damaged or did something that affected the improvements we have at the surface.
Okay. All right, yeah, because there will be you'll be installing new utilities that cross this easement, so, yeah, I guess we just need to be careful or find out what underground piping may or may not be in this easement, so otherwise you might hit it, I don't know, looks like 1, 2, at least 3, probably 4 times you're gonna be crossing it, so, with various underground utilities on your guys' behalf, so.
Mostly storm sewer, I believe.
Yeah, it looks like at least 2 of them are storm sewers, one some electrical work, so. Okay.
Did you think basically anything for years that could not be handled administratively?
Oh, yeah, I think all of these can be handled administratively.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman.
Mr. Cage?
All right, now the snafu. Understand the fact that you recognize the 300-foot spacing for the hydrants and stuff. We actually mentioned back in April about access to the rear of the building. I know it was forgotten, not discussed ever since. I mean, there was a point of some kind of pavers, decorative pavers or something that would support the fire truck. But we're looking to definitely have access to the rear of the building for life safety purposes.
Well, you know, I guess when I talked to Rick,
Yes.
Yeah. So you sent me there's an Ohio fire code that says, so we have access, we used to have access just on 2 sides. We have access on 3 sides of the building and we're within 150 feet.
Correct.
And that's.
Correct, but right now, at this point in time, all of the other residential, senior residential properties that we deal with do have access all the way around, and especially the ones in Macedonia. And even other projects that are coming into town supplied access to both sides of the building.
To both sides of the building. That's the first time I heard that. I thought it was, you know, we're meeting the
I mean,
requirement.
it's not a city ordinance. I mean, it's a preference. It's a preference that we're gonna require. The powers above me looked at the plans recently and they said, where is it?
Yeah,
I mean, we have the equipment in place to respond to anything and everything in that location, but we need to be able to get to those locations. Got it. I know, and it hasn't been talked about and hasn't been discussed since.
No, but it was sent to me, you sent me basically the code, and it was highlighted in yellow, this is what you need to meet, which is says to have access on 3 sides and then be able to go within 150 feet from each side, that's what the code says, that's what we follow. So it's the first time I hear it.
I will look farther into it. It might not be Ohio Fire Code, might not be National Fire Code within the city of Macedonia. We're gonna look into it and we will
And
keep
we
asking
got
for
an
it.
answer, it's a 2017 Ohio Fire Code, section 503.19 as well.
Well, by the time you start building, new fire codes are coming out.
Yeah, question, well, how, if you say that Macedonia is gonna impose it, that's not in the fire code, and it's not apparently in our code, how does the fire department impose anything that's not in the law? How do you get around that?
Authority having jurisdiction.
Pardon?
Authority having jurisdiction.
It's authority what?
Having jurisdiction.
Is there a code section or something that
There's a code section that,
requires this, what you're talking?
there's not a
I
code section that
misunderstood.
requires it. There's a code section that skirts around it. For senior living, being residential,
There's some rule somewhere, is that what you're saying? A written rule?
it's a preference, the city preference.
What
Fire
does that- what does
department
that mean?
preference at this point.
I'm curious, what does a preference mean?
What we would like to see.
What they can make it.
And the city owns the fire trucks to get to those locations to protect the people that are in
I don't
those
know how you can
places.
impose that on somebody if we don't have a rule on it. I guess I have a sort of a legal thing, you know. It strikes me as I don't know how you do that. We just have a preference. We feel it's a good idea. I just don't know how you can do that. I know you think maybe they can do it anyway, but you wonder. Anyway, that's my question. I don't know how we impose something that we can't find written down anywhere, just because people like the idea.
So the idea is very, it's across the life and safety measures,
Yeah.
so.
Anyway, that's my thoughts.
I'm trying to remember discussions that we've had on that in the past.
It was at one of the earlier meetings that you remember now, I don't remember which one though.
Yeah. Do you have any recollection?
I think it was the initial meeting.
Some of the discussions where we left things and.
I know I mentioned it early on in my first report, and then I believe there was correspondence between the fire department and the applicant, and it has not, come up since that time.
Well, let me think about that. If you want to go over anything architectural.
Yeah, so, reviewed everything architecturally, had some discussions with Pam, just had a couple of additional comments. Feel that the brick on the east elevation needs to go up to, at a minimum on all of those towers, to the same height as the ones on the left. It makes the building look somewhat unbalanced, especially from that backside. Yeah, bring them up to that location, all the way on the, just on that side. And it doesn't have to occur in between where it jets in, it's just on those four towers, I guess. Yes, exactly, match that tower going all the way down. And then the two ends of the building, again, it feels like it kind of was unfinished there. And I feel like the brick should wrap there as well, because you wrap the brick on the west elevation all the way up to the towers, to where the peak starts. I feel that should occur on those end ones, the four end ones as well, especially those being main visible elevations. Yeah, take to that one on the four, on those ends. Yeah, it doesn't have to again occur in the middle, because I feel like that does give a nice little depth piece. Just right there, and there, and then I feel like that helps kind of finish the end of the elevation. The other comment I had was, I would recommend painting the doors on those elevations the same color as the brick. It helps them kind of just disappear and not stick out really, really bright at that point. Otherwise, I think the addition of the full windows with the brick detailing looks really nice. But I feel like just kind of making the building look cohesive and finished, so to say, would really bring that together nicely.
I like the idea of painting the doors. I mean, it's something we're planning to do. It makes a lot of sense. And I can see bringing the brick up on the ends. I guess I don't understand the point of adding the brick on the rear of the building when it's not visible from the side.
It is visible now. It's visible from the neighboring parcels and from the parking lot for
I don't think it is. I mean, you have to be standing at the rear of the bowling alley to actually see that.
Well, again, if they hadn't done it on the left-hand side, I don't know if my eye would have been drawn as much to it, but it is because it looks unfinished. It looks like you just did it on the first two and then just kind of finished it. Yeah, so you're gonna see that as you come into the development. I noticed that in the one rendering too, that it just looks unfinished. It looks like you kind of started it and then just decided to abandon it the rest of the way.
Yeah, because it's not visible
but it is visible, we're seeing it right there in the perspective that you guys are providing us.
So very little slice, but I don't feel it's necessary personally, but we'll follow what you require.
I feel it helps, it just helps make it look more finished and not unfinished.
No one's gonna be seeing it from the north side, looking at the bowling alley.
Otherwise, I think just addressing, just going through Pam's comments. I think we were good with the colors, you guys did bring samples, correct?
Yeah, we have samples of the siding and the brick and the roof.
Yeah, I think the brick color you guys showed us the last time looked really nice.
This is the siding.
Yeah, I think the siding colors were okay too. And the asphalt showed
Georgetown gray.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm good with those. I think those look really nice.
The other color we use another special press there. Pulling out from the street.
I'm okay with those, how it shows, I mean, the promise of those. You guys did screen the equipment, correct?
Yes.
I know we screened the dumpster enclosures and landscaping, okay, that's fine.
It's all grade, grade 2 specific spots.
I don't know about comment number 4, I don't know if that's ever been discussed, I don't know where, I don't personally. Brian, did you have any discussions with Pam in regards to comment number 4 about the brick piers and then, the fencing, and, they were the locations down on the other side of 82?
Yeah, I haven't talked to her. I think this might be the first time we've talked about it here.
I mean, personally, I'll let everyone else kind of, in the commission say things about it, but we're not doing it anywhere else in this area. If this were the other corner, I feel it would be necessary.
I feel we discussed this. We came to that same determination because
We
the
did
dentist
for-
office doesn't have it, so.
Oh, maybe that was the one that I was at. I know we talked about it for the hotel. I don't feel like it's,
And yeah, we definitely talked about it with the hotel. I swear that came up.
Yeah, I remember definitely talking about the hotel.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't feel like it's,
At this location,
yeah,
if you were down closer to the center of town, you might feel different.
yeah, for sure.
Or if even the corner had it already, then we.
Yes, if the
That's what
corner
I'm
had
worried
it, then
about.
I would say
As much as
connection
we
to
love
it.
how that looks, I think it looks weird.
Yeah, because we could make the other place in this area, or in this setting with nothing else either, because then they'd stop it, because you're not gonna do the dentist office to move at their corner. So at that point, you just have it kind of this whole little section,
Yeah, that's.
and I feel like it would look unfinished at that point.
It was just my thoughts and it wasn't discussed.
Personally, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. one minute.
I would say that the picture right here is on the.
Yeah, we know exactly where it is, and that's why I don't feel like, again, if the dentist office had it, I would say yes, continue it down. But I feel like if you guys were just to do it here, it's gonna look unfinished, because it's not gonna connect to anything else at the point. It's just gonna be kind of a small area of,
And that's the same thought we had.
with the hotel. So I feel like it's not, I don't feel like it's something to ask for here.
Yeah.
I'd personally rather see it on the building than seeing it out there.
Yeah. So there, I was jotting down notes from other stuff that you were talking about the architecture. Is there any issues that they agree to what you were suggesting?
Sound like they agree.
Okay.
We agree.
Okay.
So I think it was carrying, you know, how it'll be reflected in the minutes, but carrying the brick up on the 2 ends of the building, and that's to the other side of the 3rd-story roof line, or that belly band or trim line.
Yeah.
And then on the back side of the building, carrying up to the second floor for the rest of this base.
To match the rest of the base, the remaining 4 towers, they don't need to do it at the insets.
think I'll just refer to it as.
So just on that one, that one, that one, that one, the 4 remaining bump outs on the east elevation should receive brick up to the same height as the other 2. And then the north and south elevation to receive brick. And the doors to be painted to match the brick color that they touch. And that's only for the hollow metal doors, guys, I'll just put that caveat out there. I figured you knew that, but I figured I'd just say it.
Storefront.
Yeah, and you don't need to make the storefront match that color, but any of the hollow metal doors and frames, so if there's a double one on the west elevation, just paint that to match the brick, just so it doesn't, that color will just pop out too much, and also probably will show a little bit more dirty stuff being close to the ground.
There's only a few of those doors.
Yeah, I think there's only, I think I only counted like 2 singles and 1 double.
So, Tony, do you have any questions on it?
No, I don't have any more questions.
So I guess kind of to try and summarize all of the things that I've taken notes. So there's the ones that I talked about, Mr. Francis' comments. Mr. July's comments could be addressed administratively. There's these 3 things architecturally that I think we could do and probably get reviewed administratively. The last one is the fire access, and I'm gonna suggest, and we'll see what you guys think, suggest that we approve this contingent on the applicant working with the administration to work out this issue. And if the compromise comes to where the building has to move or something, then you have to come back, but I'd kind of like to get you out of here tonight. And if there's something significant has to be done to get the cooperation, to get the coordination and everything, then if something moves, then have you come back, but I'd like to try and work that out.
I go along with
I don't know
that.
that. I would go as long far as to say as if it's a system they can drive over or anything like that, we don't need to reapprove that. I feel like if it's, and even if the building, I guess I would say shifted slightly to accommodate something like that, I don't feel that would be, as long as it doesn't impact anything else, I guess I'll say. But, the pavers they're able to drive on, if that's what they come to a determination for, I don't really need to come back for something like that.
Okay, so what do you guys think about if I try through all that? Is there anything else?
I like the idea of trying to administratively approve it so they won't have to come back. I think that's the way to do
Yeah, I
it.
think we've gotten through all the big
Yeah,
stuff.
right, let's see if it's possible and,
All right, Susan, get your hands, stretch your fingers.
Okay.
Okay, and make a motion to approve with conditions. First one being that the age restriction documentation, there's a council approval of the age restriction documentation. Got that? All right, the conflict with the easements will be handled privately between the property owners. Landscaping will add 1 additional tree, as noted in the comments.
Are you laughing?
Critical. And the submitted lighting plan will be confirmed administratively for compliance. The engineer's comments will be addressed administratively.
Okay.
The 4 remaining bump outs will receive brick the same as the 2 that have it on the side,
East
on the
elevation.
east elevation.
Yeah, north and south is together.
And the north and south elevations will receive brick to the roof peak.
To the I'm sorry, the trim line. Yeah, the eve.
Trim line.
To the eave.
The same as what's done on the west elevation.
We call them trim line.
Did you say north and south?
North and south elevations receive brick to the eave. Is that what you're
To
saying?
the other side, yeah. They know what I'm referring to.
Okay. And then the doors painted to match the brick. The hollow.
Now that one, usually it's could be like an analyzed aluminum, typically. And the main door, because you're only talking about the main door and the door.
No, the exit doors.
Just the exit door.
Just the
Yeah,
exit,
I don't
no,
know
not
about-
the storefront, not the colorized aluminum, it would be
Yeah,
the
gotcha.
double
Sorry.
exit door and the other 2 exit doors.
The exit doors.
Hollow metal.
Okay.
Hollow metal doors.
And then the last item I have on there is the fire access issue to be worked out administratively. And if the compromise has a significant impact on the plan, it would have to come back.
Say that one more time?
The fire access issue to be worked out administratively. And if the compromise has a significant impact on the site plan, it would have to come back to planning commission. I believe that's everything. Is there a second?
I'd second that. That's very well done.
Any comments, any more discussion?
I think I heard you say not significant, but a material impact to the layout of the site.
Susan, did you catch what I
Yes, I
actually
did.
said? All right, any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, hopefully we don't see you back.
I don't know what you're saying.
I mean, it's been nice, the 22 meetings we've seen. I think you'd like a break.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
It is a long drive.
And the last item, or last regular item is fellowship hall at St. Gregorio's. Ms. Meskey's return, rejoining us.
You can slide over.
Thankfully, Joe.
And I know you've been here before, but if you don't mind, name for the record.
George Winkle,
Okay.
architect. Ryan.
Yeah. I never would do that.
That's it, okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, why don't you go ahead and give us an overview of what you've, what's planned.
You know what I really want to do is tell you just what's happened for the last 5 months, but that's not really pertinent. It's just this thing's gotten so upside down and delayed. But I received all the comments. I think there was three sections that came. One from Mr. Franz and one from Pam Schultz. Where's the other one? From Joe, from, how do you say it?
July.
July.
Yeah, you ignore half the letters in there.
That isn't how I said it the first time I
Hit a leaf.
And he had to leave, right, okay, sorry about
So you
that.
can
Well,
ignore all
I think that's
I guess, yeah, if you could just give us an overview,
is the easiest. What's happening?
yeah, what's happening? What's this, especially the middle section of the building there?
Okay, I've known the church people for probably, I don't know, 15, 18 years. They came to me when they were meeting in somebody's house. And I don't even remember where that was, up north someplace. And they came to me because somebody that I met in a men's Bible study knew somebody that was at the church. I think his name was Joseph Matthew, he was a doctor. I think he's still part of the church, I don't know. But anyway, he came to me, they were outgrowing the house that they were in, so they needed to move to another house. But that's residential, so there was a zoning thing for a conditional permit, to have a church meet in the house, we went through that. And they're wonderful people. It's a little bit difficult to understand sometimes, because I think all of them are from India. I don't think any of the lead people are from America originally, but I think most all of them are American citizens the right way and the long way, and just great people. So when it came time for them to buy this building that they have, and they moved here, I don't think there was any issue at the time because it was a church. So it was church, so they didn't need me for anything. But then several years, and I don't remember when it was that we redid the front. Is that like 4 years ago, 2020? I had a heart attack on January 8th, and then had triple bypass on January 10th, and then the phone rang. And it was about doing the front of the church. And so we went through that process, and I know it was a little bit complicated working with you guys and everybody else. I'm not saying it was complicated working with you, I'm saying it was complicated. It was probably complicated working with them and helping them to understand. Anyway, we got through that, and I think it turned out pretty nice. They came to me, and well, Abraham and I have stayed in touch. And part of the reason he and I stayed in touch is because on a whole other plane, I'm doing a building for him down in Akron for his rubber. He's an engineer, and he's very heavily involved in the rubber industry. And his business is growing. There's a whole lot of fingers in it there, but I'm working with him. But he called me up last, I don't remember when it was, February or March, and said, we need to meet, so we met. And he told me about a project that they wanted to do, and he mentioned this fellowship hall when we were doing the front. He said, someday we're going to want to do a building in the back as a fellowship hall. So we met, and he said, we want to get this project going by next February of 25, right? And I said, okay, we can do that. And we set up a meeting then with Father James and their financial guy, who's a gentleman named Subin George. And we had a meeting, and at that meeting, and I'm only telling you this to kind of set the stage for what I'm up against and why this has kind of been disjointed, which I apologize for. But at that meeting, the first thing Father James said, they want to dedicate the building next February. And I grabbed Abraham by the arm, and I said, "You're gonna tell me the truth." And he said, "Well, I said February." And I said, "Yeah, but there's a big difference between start February and being in February." I said, because the process along, I mean, to get to where you can build it, takes months and months. Anyway, we decided to tackle it, and we got started, and we did a preliminary design, and they loved it, and so I got a rendering done, and they loved that, and they hung it on the wall so everybody could see, and I said, we have a long ways to go. And my wife and I have been leasing the Conrad Boats and Farmstead for 26 years, and that lease expired on April 12th,
and we had a meeting with the farm, and they said our rent was going up almost 5,000% to renew our lease. And so we chose not to renew the lease, and we had to move off the farm after 26 years in about 6 weeks. And so our schedule got all in turmoil, and in the midst of that, we tried to get started with this thing and get going with the zoning and filing all the papers and all that. And the first thing that happened was it came up that they needed to put $10,000 in an escrow account. I believe you and I had a phone call.
That's
right,
correct.
once. And you had talked with Abraham, and there was a complete misunderstanding on what the $10,000 was for on the part of the church. I tried to explain it to them like buying a house and an escrow account and all that, and it just didn't compute. So we lost a month. I think then we lost another month because we were trying to get in September. They couldn't come up with the 10,000. Finally got into October, so we're on the agenda. Well, while that was going on, I hired a civil engineer, which is Mike Woolwin, of Woolwin Engineering. They're out of Kent. And I got him started, and they worked with Campbell Surveying, so they went out and surveyed the property. But nothing was happening in the right order. But we wanted to get on this agenda so that we could hopefully at least get your comments back and get some sense of an approval, even if we couldn't get the full approval, because I told the church it's pointless for me to hire all these people and start spending all this money if everything's going to change or it isn't going to work. So we need to do that. So here we are with what you got, and I apologize for all the paper. We could have done it on 11 by 17, but to me that's not to scale, because I know it has a scale on it, but you can't scale it unless you have unless you have some kind of a variable scale. So that's why we ended up with the full-size sheets for you guys.
You can just do half sheets.
But if you want, we'll
Half sheets will be to scale.
right, which is fine. We'll do that next time. Well, hopefully, well, no, there will be next time, I'm sure, with all the comments that there are. Anyway, so many of the comments that relate to the site, the stormwater, the parking, fire hydrants, the fire line for the sprinkler system, fire lanes, those kinds of things, they've already been addressed by the engineer, and I could only get 2 sets run, so you probably don't even want these tonight, but this has the fire stuff, it has the stormwater, it has the parking. There's that note in there about getting the agreement from the church next door about overflow parking, and they have that agreement in writing, but I don't have it with me, and I don't know if they even sent that to anybody. Okay, so we'll get that in and on the record. Landscape, of course, I didn't say it very well, I guess, when I submitted, but there'll be a landscape plan, there'll be a lighting plan. It's one thing we don't have yet, because I haven't asked the electrical engineer to do it. But we have an electrical engineer, a mechanical engineer, structural, we've got everything in place to do, but we needed to have this meeting to get your comments and to get some sense of approval. And the other thing that I did quickly, and I realized probably tonight was pointless, after I read Pam Schultz's comments about the architecture, and I don't disagree with most of it. Some of it I have a little bit of concern with, which we can talk about. But I did this really quick board, if you want to see it, to show how we could fix the elevations, to have a little more fenestration and some bumps and things that she was talking about, which I understand, I appreciate that. So with that, they're ready to roll, we're ready to roll. There's been a lot of water under the bridge since this submission took place, like I talked about with the civil engineering. But I'd be happy to answer questions, and thank you for listening to my story.
No problem.
I wish the pizza would get here.
Did you order it?
No, my stomach ordered it. I told my wife, I said, they're just getting through number 3 and starting on number 4, and I'm hungry. So, France, would you like to go through your comments?
Yeah, I
Some
mean,
of this has been addressed.
I would say most are probably are gonna be addressed on the civil plans, so, and there's nothing that's overly difficult, except there's really kind of comes down to two main issues in my report. One, as it relates to the off-street parking and this concept of sharing, the code is very specific how that gets treated under 1171-11D about shared parking. So we need to understand if the other church has additional capacity, hours of operation, how they overlap, is there overlap, is there going to be a demand where we have a peak of similar church times where they're both scrambling for the parking. Those are all things we need to understand. And then how do you access the other shared parking on the adjacent site? Is there an internal connection? Is there paths, sidewalk? So those are all things we need to understand and see them on the civil plans.
Okay. We can do that. We talked about all that.
Good.
With them.
Perfect.
And they did, Father James did with the pastor at the Methodist Church. But the plan at this point is to, with the capacity of the hall being at 300, that would require 60 parking spaces. And the plan is now on the civil engineering, when you see it, they have 43 spaces already there. And the plan is to add 24, which would put us over the 60. So that unless there is some unusual circumstance, which is what you're addressing, that's when the overflow would kick in.
Good.
And the chances of that happening, which will also be in writing, are extremely remote because they're not expecting they're going to have an event with 300 people in the hall when they're having church on Sunday morning.
Yeah, so all those things
So,
can be
right.
documented, you know, on the site plan, and we'll reevaluate it. So then the next, just I think discussion we need to have relates to the retreat center.
Right.
Can you walk us through the retreat center and the intent of the retreat center?
Right. My eyebrows went up too when Father James mentioned it. What they do now is occasionally, and they want to do, why they want to do this is because now occasionally they have retreats. It's men of the church, mostly, members of the church. They would like it to be bigger than that, and there is demand, I guess, within the church for it to be bigger than that. But they do that, and people come, they come to the church, they sing, they have worship time, they study some scriptures, you know, those kinds of things. They share meals, it's a very close, connected kind of thing. And then at night, everybody goes home. Then they come back the next day and do that again. And what they want is them not to have to leave. These groups, there's always less than 20 people, sometimes it's only 10, sometimes it's fewer than that. And they meet in the church, they do their, whatever they're doing, their fellowship, their time together, and then they have separate time when they can go back to their rooms, smaller group, pray together, they have Bible study time. Then they come back together, they share meals, then they just spend the night. Then they do the same thing the next day. This is usually over a weekend, from a Friday afternoon to a Sunday morning. Sometimes it's longer. There's been a couple they've done a week, but everybody's going home every night. And they wanted to be able to do it so that they can stay at the church and have this be a real exclusive retreat. You know, very private, very personal time that they're spending together in prayer and Bible study and worship. So that's what it is. It's not long-term, it's not weeks, it's not, what do you call that? Transient housing coming in and people stay in there. It's just for this private purpose, people registering and setting these things up and having these retreats.
When you
That's
say
what it's
people
for.
registering, who's registering?
The people that are going to attend the retreat, they call the church and say, hey, I'm Joe Schmo, and I want to come to the retreat on November 24th. Put me down.
So it's not just members, it's outside folks.
It will be outside, right? In the recent past, it's been members.
Yeah.
There has been interest expressed by outside people that aren't members of the church that would like to attend the retreats.
Sure.
So they're expanding their base, basically. I mean, it's the same reason that they want to make the bigger fellowship hall. Like, there's a lot of demand. They do a lot of things at the church. They want to be able to do a lot more things at the church. That's why they want to have the fellowship hall. And that's what the retreat is.
And the retreat, the 1,800 square feet with the 2 private units and then the shared units, that's specifically designed to accommodate the future interest to have outside folks come and be able to stay.
Yes, to expand the base. The private unit is for Father James or whoever might come in to lead the retreat, because I think there's a bishop that's over a bigger geographic area.
Sure.
That has expressed interest in coming.
But Father James has no intent to live at the church.
Oh, no, he does.
He has residence elsewhere.
Yeah, oh, he has a private home, married, has kids, go to school, and I think he oversees, I don't know, 4 or 6, I mean, he has a district of churches that he oversees also.
Right, but this isn't housing for the priest or for
No,
for the
no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
This is stay overnight, stay a couple of nights, go home.
Yeah, yeah, so I think that I don't know that that's permissible in the single-family zoning district. Churches in the practice of religious practice and the freedom to practice religion within a residential district is not at question.
Right.
You can do that in the building, you could do it in a house, that's where the federal law, RLUIPA, protects.
Okay.
But I don't think it addresses what you're describing, which is a use issue regulated under our single-family zoning district in Macedonia. So I don't know that that's permissible.
Okay. How do we find that out?
Yeah, I would want to have some conversation with the city's law director to discuss that.
And I'd be happy to participate.
You've given a great description tonight. I wasn't sure what it was, and so you described it out very well.
We did, I don't know if you, can I digress just for a second on that thing? There's, the name went away, Loyola. There's a Jesuit retreat house down south Akron, east side. I wish I could then think the name of the street. Anyway, it's called Loyola the Lakes. And it is the same, it's essentially the same thing. It's a Jesuit retreat house. I don't think anybody lives there. They might, but I don't think they do. But they have a fellowship hall, they have classrooms, and they have small, like, dormitory rooms. And the only reason I'm really familiar with it is because I attended a retreat there when Marriage Encounter was a big thing back in the 1970s, I think. Marriage Encounter was a big thing in the Catholic Church. And my wife attended a retreat there. They call it a Life in the Spirit retreat. It was 3 nights. And then about a year and a half later, or 2 years later, we attended this Marriage Encounter weekend, which was Friday, Saturday night. And it was the same thing. You shared meals. There were all kinds of talks and lectures. There was private fellowship time. There was time you could walk out on the grounds and pray and commune with God on your own, come back, share a meal. But then as a couple, you would go to one of those dorm rooms and spend the night.
Yeah.
So, I know it happens. We just have to find out if it was really a neat experience.
I sure remember growing up going to lock-ins.
Yeah, that's right. Well, because we do that at our church now. They have kids come and spend.
But we didn't have separate bedrooms, and
Right.
shower facilities,
Right.
and we camped out in sleeping bags
Right.
and acted like a bunch of morons. But that was the boys, not the girls. But
Well,
so and
my
then
wife attended ones with girls, and they acted like morons too.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry,
they act so innocent.
No,
But I'm
I think they might be
assuming
worse than the boys.
I'm assuming there's some donation system if somebody were to come this outside group use it or be a part of the retreat and stay the night. Is it a donation based or do they pay a fee to do this?
I have no idea. I don't know how it works. I would guess it would be a donation thing, but I don't know that.
Sure.
That's the question I was gonna ask.
Oh, okay.
If
I
there-
was
if
curious.
there's a if there's some kind of payments.
Okay, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know how they use the hall that they have, not, well, they don't have a hall. They have a big, sort of big meeting room, but I know they've had, what do they call them, spaghetti dinner, they've had things catered in, they don't have a kitchen. but-
Yeah, I think the fellowship hall is not in question at all in the use, and that's part of the religious practice. The 1,870 square feet for the retreat center, and as described, is enough for me to say, I don't think the commission can approve it yet till they get some direction from legal counsel. Because I do think it's a use issue. The city of Macedonia, like many cities, we understand and respect RLUIPA and are not at all infringing on the right to practice religion, except when it comes to something like this, where it's not necessarily, it's a little bit of a gray area, and that, it falls into, from a use standpoint, kind of multifamily, which is not permissible in a single family. So I think we just need to explore that in more detail and
As long as they understand, when we do explore it, as long as the understanding is that it is religious, they're not going there to play poker, bridge, chess. They're going there for religious purposes, worship, singing, Bible study, prayer. That's it.
But I know other churches also have, like the church we attend, we have events on a weekend, and it might be an all weekend thing, but we don't stay there. There's no place for us to stay, so
Right.
I find it.
Kevin, can I ask one question?
Sure.
Before we move on, there's 4 rooms, these are 4 extra rooms for the overnights, 4 extra rooms, but you have these people coming in with, how many were you kind of contemplating staying overnight? It sounds like 8 people would be the most you could get in there.
Well, each room is set up for 4 people, so
I
you have
see.
16.
I get you, okay.
Plus the
That
priest that's overseeing it.
Yeah.
So 7.
Okay. I just wondered how many were.
Yeah, that's it.
the priest overseeing it may not necessarily be there, because if you need the room for an extra person coming in from outside the congregation, he may stay at home.
Okay, that's a possibility.
Yeah.
I'll grant you that, but I doubt that they would do that. That just doesn't, because this whole thing is motivated by the priest. The priest is the one that wants to do this, so I can't. I think when they say this, when we get 16, we're done. But I understand the question.
Yeah. There's some demand driving the 16, so they obviously have some internal thinking on that. But just to be clear, it's not housing for the priest. He's out, has elsewhere, has his own house, and
He has his own house.
Okay, right. I just think, a lot of the things I say in my comments, as you noted, they can be addressed on civil plans and get us a good set of civil plans drawn to scale, and we need to.
I can give you one of these when I leave.
Now, don't strike me down, but the devil's in the details. So as it relates to the, the sharing of parking, we just want to explore all that. But those are things we can, there are numerical standards, I call those.
Sure.
That we can work through. But I don't think the commission can really take action tonight till we kind of oversee and understand this issue as it relates to the units.
Sure.
And how does that work? We don't need to formally say anything about requesting input from the law director. Someone will reach out to you, or somebody will reach out to him and get his opinion. And if you need more information, contact you.
Sure.
Are they going to do this? You might need more information, but yeah, hopefully we can have that for the next time we hear an opinion. Besides that, it seems like a lot of details. Outside of this major issue, everything else looks like it's doable. Even the architecture, I'm sure there's.
Yeah, and it's pretty. I came up with, make it look better, more lights. Doesn't look like a warehouse. Sorry, guys.
I didn't say warehouse in my report.
Hey, do you have any comments or
kitchens?
By the way, it's on here.
You got one of me?
Yeah, where did they put it?
Send a PDF.
He showed, he put in a,
Sprinkler?
what he had the trucks. Yeah, here it is.
Oh, okay.
Truck pass.
There's
Truck
the
pad,
fire,
everything, okay.
the drives, the trucks, the 150 feet,
All right.
and the fire line coming in with the fire hydrant. We knew we had to do it. When I got this thing, come to you guys, it's crazy.
Yeah, I met Abraham a couple of times. They're looking at sprinkling it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, we're looking at boy,
Sprinkler.
I need the pizza. I need the pizza, that's right. Sprinklering the fellowship hall. But we're putting a fire barrier, 2-hour wall between the church and the retreat center and then the fellowship hall. So it's a separate fire barrier.
So you're looking at sprinkling the retreat area also? Since there is a residential sprinkler line in there already. We go
To the
there.
building.
In the building, yes.
Yes.
So we're gonna continue building on the property, we're gonna continue.
Well, but
Working
it's,
towards-
yeah, but we need a new line. That's
Yeah.
for the fact the 6-inch line coming from the street. For the hydrants.
Is that fellowship hall like a multi-purpose room, like for
Yeah.
sports and stuff too, like, or?
Not,
It's not like a basketball gym, right?
oh, no. I don't really think it's high enough. They could, they could probably put volleyball in there, but it's, the main idea of it is for banquets, parties, wedding receptions, spaghetti dinners, that kind of stuff. They're not,
You keep coming back with food.
yeah,
So I guess what my suggestion is, since you've got the comments and I think you know their concerns,
Yes.
you've addressed some of the architecture, I would say, get that submission back in formally so
right.
Pam can start to see what you're putting together, if you need to reach out to her. Administration will work out, reaching out to the law director. July's comments, those are administrative type things, but you can start to look at those and see.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything in there that was
No, that's
real detailed.
That's what I saw too. I thought a lot of it we'd already addressed, but it's not in the submission, and the other things are pretty much,
Okay.
we figured we'd have to do that anyway. The big thing was what we're talking about, is the retreat center, which, just for general information, I told them that too when we were sitting at the table the first time, and he said, oh, and we want to do, and I said, really?
It's gonna be interesting.
I said, yeah, okay, we'll try it, I get it, I understand, and I mentioned the Jesuit retreat house then too. I said, I've done that, I've been there, I've been on one of those, and been on 2 of those kinds of events, and I know a lot of people that have done it. I said, I just don't know, so we'll put it on paper and see if it flies.
Yeah, we don't know the Jesuit example, the zoning there, it may allow it.
No, right, yeah.
We don't know. But from this jurisdiction standpoint, there's just things we need to work through.
Sure, I get it.
Well, with that, I'll make a motion to continue this to the November meeting. Discuss it again.
Good idea. I'll second it.
Go ahead.
I just say November or December.
Or December.
I just feel like you want to give it enough time so we could, because it may shoehorn it a bit on a timing standpoint,
Okay.
just to get
That's
you
what I was
some
gonna
time.
ask you, what's the timetable
Yeah,
right now?
things do come up pretty quick. So
Yeah, that's what I would,
it's 4 days.
yeah,
We've got plenty of time. So it may end up having to be the next.
more pizza.
Yeah, just don't want it from a continuing standpoint.
That's next year's.
Yeah, that's next year's.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, I have one funny question. I received a call from a previous member of the Planning Commission. I believe a while back, you came to this body to ask for a installation of the sign in front of the building. And at the time you were granted that, but I was told that as a condition of that, you had to remove that sign that was in the front of the building.
Okay.
To this day, I think that sign is still there, it's still not been removed.
Okay.
So can we?
I haven't even paid any attention to it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you're talking, if we're having a sign on the front of the building,
That
take
one
down
was
the
supposed
thing
to be
that's out
removed.
front. Okay,
Yes.
I had,
And I think it's still there and it's kind of falling apart and so it's
I'll
in
ask
disrepair.
them out, yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank
Sure,
you.
yeah, that's not a problem.
But they still need an address out front somewhere.
Closer to the street,
Something that can be read from the road.
yeah, okay. I can't even remember, the number's on the building.
but they need, okay, okay, I get that. What do we need to do for that? We can't just stick up a piece of pine with it.
Well, you got a mailbox, a brand new mailbox.
They do have?
I don't know.
Oh, okay, so that's enough? If they had a mailbox with the number on both sides of it, that's,
Yeah,
okay.
as long as it's legible from the roadway.
Right, okay, all right.
I'll
Thank you.
restate my motion to continue this to the November or December meeting. Is there a second?
I will second that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
There is one item still on the agenda. Under miscellaneous, there is discussion amending the fence ordinance.
I'm sorry, I'm not even sure that this is the right place to start off, but I've been told yes, no, yes.
Most recently was a yes, or?
Yes, most
I just
recently
feel like
was
you've been
yes.
sitting next to fire.
And then I was told earlier today while doing some research, but if nothing else, this should be a courtesy to the planning commission.
Okay.
To bring these things up.
Give me a chance to get out of the way here.
You want pizza too?
Oops, sorry. Go ahead.
Thanks.
Thank you all very much, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Oops, sorry. Okay, I've been here before. I've talked to many of you on different occasions just to get my thought process, out to you,
Okay.
Mr. Connors.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, it is my intent to amend the planning, the building commission, the building codes and zoning codes. We talked about this before. The conversation has been held for quite some time about Macedonia building and zoning codes being obsolete and ambiguous. I have worked on this project for the better part of this year, off and on. I have also had medical issues that have kind of sidelined me a little bit. Just got out of, I had a residence at a Hoosier for a couple of days last week. My first thing is, and I'm not going to go over everything. You guys have been here late enough, and so have I. Fortunate for me, I did eat before I left. Okay? One of my biggest things that will help if I am successful, my intent is to repeal code 1133.0227B. There is no way that you'll convince me that any corner residence has 2 front yards. You can call it what you want. It's 8 o'clock. You can tell me, I can tell you it's 6 o'clock, but that doesn't make it so. Okay? I've researched a half a dozen other venues. Nobody else had that. And the law director, I've talked to everybody, law director, the administration. They may be out there, but I can't find them readily. I don't have the resources that some of us have to go up and look at those. But if we take care of that, first of all, the rest will be easier and less time consuming. I don't know if I have to get your blessing. I don't know if you guys make recommendations to, or, for or against. But again, I've talked to so many people that I was told this would be my best bet to come and speak with you for a couple of minutes. And that's all it's going to be. And then there's other things that I don't plan on arguing any point in this except this too big, 2 front yard thing. I mean, you'll never convince me of that. But so there's other ordinances that need to be amended. Some of these things are granted by the BZA in such a manner, and Mr. France and I have talked about this and agreed upon this, that if they get granted so often, that the ordinances need to be changed. They need to be amended. And that is what I am trying to do. I am trying to make it much easier and less costly for our residents to enjoy their properties. There are several incidences, several bullet points here that you can go over at your own leisure. Feel free to call me at any time if you have any input. The rest of the city council knows that I'm working on this. Law director, the mayor, and anybody else that I could get an ear from too. So that's basically what I'm trying to do. It's going to be a Band-Aid effect, and that's only because the city right now doesn't have $180,000 to $200,000 to spend like the city of Twinsburg to have it done professionally. Okay, Glen Willow did it a couple of years ago. Twinsburg is still in the process of trying to do it. And there's some other things in my research that I've taken from them about how to make things easier, as far as fences go, more efficient. I don't see everything that I've placed in these pages coming to fruition, but it gives me, it's my thought process, and this is what I'm going to work on. What works, works, and what doesn't. I learned a lot today just by talking to Susan and her partner there in the building department, Ms. Gambatese. Talked to the building commissioner, I've talked to the building inspector, I've talked to the mayor, I've talked to the law director. Everybody thinks I'm on the right track, that I'm not just blowing smoke to keep your time, that I'm trying to do something beneficial for the residents. Because when I introduce myself to a resident, which I often do, I'm a face-to-face guy, I don't do this, social media stuff. I leave that to Jessica Brandt. She's the social media guru. But one of the first things I tell them is, I don't work for the city. The city pays me to work for them. And that's what I'm doing. These are all complaints, issues that have been brought up to me personally by phone, by all face-to-face. I've had 2 people already in the past couple of weeks give up on me trying to get this done in any type of time period, and I understand why they went a different route. Okay. So I just wanted to give you an idea what I'm working on, and where do you think I should go from here? Am I sitting in the proper place at this time and place?
If I may.
Please.
So Vinny, what I think you need to do, you put a lot of time and effort to write this up.
Oh, that's the 4th version.
Yeah, so
That's the 4th draft.
I know, and we've talked about it a number of times over probably the last 6-8 months. 1141.01 is how an amendment to the code is initiated.
Can I interrupt you just a minute? After having a half-hour conversation with the law director today, he sent me all of that.
Oh yeah, so I can save you. I can save you the time.
I just haven't had a chance to go over it yet because I didn't want to cancel my ability to be able to be in front of you this evening.
Yeah. So it's item B, which is you, by the introduction of an ordinance by council or a member thereof. So you need referral. You need an ordinance with referral legislation from council that sends it here. This planning commission will review it according to the code. They have 30 days, which is actually a little tough on them, but 30 days to make a suggestion of approve, disapprove, or some modification thereof.
Right.
It goes back to council. There's a public hearing. Typically, now I don't know what your charter says. Typically, if planning commission recommends disapproval, you would need a supermajority of council, but you'd want to look at the charter and see if it addresses that. Mark can tell you
Right,
that.
right.
But that's your next step.
I just got that information
Yep.
today, Mr. Franz.
No problem.
I just got it today.
And that's your next step, is introduce an ordinance that basically takes this, and I bet Mark would be able to help you. You take this and put it into ordinance form, referral legislation, it'll come to these guys and they'll act accordingly.
I wonder if the process, because once council looks at it and gives the okay, sends it to us, and we only have 30 days, I wonder if would it be appropriate for, once he gets the language, maybe come here, give us the heads up on it, discuss, get any input from us before he takes it to council, so that when we get it back.
Mr. Westbrook, I would also not hold you to the 30 days. I don't think this is going to be good. I'm just hoping this comes to fruition on whatever amendments are made and whatever is done with this.
Yeah.
By the next building season. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to get anything accomplished this season or after the first of the year. By April 1st, I'd like to see something done so people that want to do these things and not have to go through such a process, because now we have changed the ordinance so you can do up to this. Whereas before you could only do up to this, and now you got to go to the BZA, which costs another $100, another hour of their time or more, as you know how many of these meetings you can sit through. How many councilmen have you had come to and sit through BZA meetings or planning commission meetings?
Not many.
Right. Okay. So I take my position very seriously.
I think you probably right within and just check with Mark, but my suspicion is right in the referral legislation, and appreciate you giving them more time, because 30 days is pretty tight.
I have no problem with that at all.
Put 60 or 90 days, and you could write it right into the referral legislation.
Okay.
And I think that probably would work within the
I
code.
have no issue with that at all. I'm not trying to, change the world in,
Yeah.
around the world in 90 days.
Yeah, because there's a lot of discussion points that need to be kind of fleshed out in your memo, what we've talked about.
Right. But I thank you for the time tonight. I thank you for standing, sitting here and giving me the 8 minutes.
Thanks for keeping it quick, but yeah, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. Anybody that knows me enough and has listened to me long enough knows that I do this with passion.
You do.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Susan did mention she